Hi folks, what you're about to watch is the first episode of the Ludo Narrative, a new show hosted by myself and my friend Max, where we seek to look at video games through a critical eye and pick apart what makes them unique or interesting. This was streamed and recorded live at twitch.tv/ramblingrhetoric, and new episodes will be streamed every Sunday at 9 PM British time, then cleaned up and uploaded to YouTube within the next week. This is a new format I'm trying out with the intent of creating more freeform content. I hope you enjoy. Hello folks, how's it going? Welcome to the very first episode of the Ludo Narrative. A critical look at the video games that we love, and I don't know, who knows, maybe some video games that we don't love. I'm Ashley, and I'm joined today by my good friend Max.
Hi, my name is Max. I love lasagna and hate Mondays.
It's true, I am playing games with a fat cat. Alright. So... Episode 1, the first episode. This will also be going out on YouTube, so if you're watching this on YouTube, hello. This was streamed live at twitch.tv/ramblingrhetoric. There'll be a link in the description. Probably will have done that as part of the edit. But hey. So, first episode, we are playing a game that I think it's fair to say is near and dear to both of our hearts. It is Hunt Showdown. Max, how about you describe Hunt Showdown? How would you describe it?
Like, in as few words as possible, or as accurately as possible?
As accurately as possible. Feel free to talk as much as you like.
It seems to be a game set in late 1800s where everybody's a cowboy and we're all bounty hunters and everyone's trying to kill each other to get that sweet, sweet moolah. There's
seems...
monsters, zombies, the like. They're hunters.
Yeah, I mean that's it. Makes sense. Yeah, it's a shooter set in 19th century Louisiana. It's an extraction shooter, which is something that I guess we'll talk about in just a minute here. And yeah, has the rather unique sort of Western Gothic setting, as I'd say these characters actually kind of demonstrate pretty well here, with Max having the new Mama May skin.
Yeah, I really like it.
Yeah, it's nice, but yeah, I mentioned the genre of this game, which is a bit of a burgeoning one, extraction shooters, and extraction shooters are sort of an up-and-coming thing. There's not a lot of them at the moment, but they're kind of more and more of them are coming as time goes on, and they're usually defined by a few elements, largely being that you usually have a static inventory between games. You can modify your character, and you have sort of persistent characters as well that last between games. And then usually you go into a match, you have to locate your quest or your objective of some kind, complete that objective, and then importantly get out. And at the same time you're competing with all the other players who will usually have a similar objective in mind. And so Hunt fits into that category alongside games like Tarkov, Marauders, or is it Cycle the Frontier is the other one? It's like a kind of, I would say big at the moment, but it's there. And yeah, that's kind of the long and short of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this in like this whole stream into certain like categories, certain sections. So we're gonna we're gonna play a game, sort of talk about what we see and whatnot. I want to focus a little bit on how unique the gameplay is in this game, what makes it special, as well as sort of the level design and the storytelling in this game, because there is lore, there is a story, as it were, and I think it's important that we try and demonstrate as much of this game as we can and cast a wide net when we're talking about it. So, I'm going to just get a base character here, and I will load them up with just sort of a preset that I like to have. We'll talk about weapons and loadouts and stuff a little bit later, but right now I want to spend a little bit of time demonstrating the gameplay before anything else. So let me just grab a character here. Seems fine.
I heard you say, load up with the basics, and then I see you squaring up with that avto.
Oh, was there an avto? Whoops, yeah, we'll maybe talk about that later. I'll be fine, don't worry about it.
Yeah, probably.
So while we're loading, let's talk about a little bit more about the setting, so we can we know what to expect when we go into this. As we stated, this is a 19th century Louisiana setting, with gothic elements, lots of undead and stuff like that. But it's worth noting that the area of Louisiana that we're in has, I believe it's referred to in the lore as like the Louisiana event.
I believe you are correct.
Yeah, and so this is like a localized apocalypse, if that makes sense. Louisiana has gone to hell, or at least, again, this particular part of Louisiana has gone to hell, and has been, as far as we can tell, evacuated. If anyone hasn't died, they've left. And so there's just a lot of decay, a lot of places that you'd expect to be hustle and bustle to be just dead, but with, corpses strewn about and stuff. Everything is in a state of disrepair because there is nobody here except for hunters and monsters. And, those hunters are going to be destroying stuff. The monsters probably aren't taking good care of it either. So it creates a really interesting atmosphere. And if you just listen to the audio, it's quiet. It's kind of somber. You can hear like the crickets just sort of chirping in the background and stuff. And there's a wonderful audio like soundscape to this game. So we've come into a match, and the very first thing we're doing is we're looking for clues. So if I'm in Darksight here, you can see that the clues are kind of glowing blue. So we're going to head up to this one here, because this is the closest one. And so the clues are going to help us find our quarry. Our target here, if you look in the top left, is one of those two monsters. The top one being the butcher, and the one below it being the assassin. In this case, it's going to be the assassin that we're looking for. And as we getting closer and closer, other hunters are going to be doing the same thing. They'll be getting clues and figuring out where it is. And slowly but surely, we're going to encounter these hunters because we're all fighting over the same thing.
And that's when the real fun begins.
It's certainly something. And laden along the way are a variety of traps. Some of them monsters, like this hive that Max just killed. And the crows that you saw back there, which are put in place to make noise. You see a group of them over there. And here's a clue, which Max is taking.
Yeah.
And so now if I look at the map, we can see that a part of it is blacked out, so we know that it isn't at these blacked out locations. So I'd say it makes sense to go south.
Yep. And because I have the beautiful trait called Conduit, there are traits in this game which give you magical buffs.
Ooh. We'll be going into that a little bit later.
Oh yeah. I now can run significantly better.
Hell yeah. So we're coming up to Blanchett Grave. So this area here was Alan and Sons Fish, which, as you can imagine, is a fishery of sorts, where they catch fish, one presumes. And we're coming up here on Blanchett Graves, which is, again, as it states, is a graveyard and a church. But it's quite pretty as well. This whole game's got like a nice, very nice visual style to it. There's a language to it all,
Oh yeah. It's one of the things where there are a few games where they try to hit that sort of gritty, dark aesthetic in some form, and I think this game hits it significantly better than those games. Oh, this clue was taken.
So you can see that this one is hollow, which means that another person has been here already.
Yes.
They will have headed south, most likely.
Part of the reason why this game does its whole vibe as well as it does, I think, is it's a simple balance of not putting too much into it.
Okay.
Had they put in, there's constant music going on, or every single thing is a reminder that the world sucks, I don't think it would hit as well.
Well, it's interesting that you point out music, because, yeah, as you said, there's no music. There is in the main menu, and this game has a band. Like, the developers have their own band that do the music for this game, and it's great. None of it's in-game, though. None of it's actually in the gameplay. And you're right in that does work to serve the atmosphere, because, plenty of games do have music in them and stuff, and it would be wholly inappropriate here. And I think it would take away from what the game's got going. Like, God, you see this as a dead dude who's caught on some barbed wire. There was, this is a cage, so presumably there was someone in here at one point who was trying to hide from these guys, and they came in and got caught. Like, little things like that. Like, this is dark. This is bleak. There's dead horses ripped in two. There's just corpses strewn about. And that's... It's dark. And putting music in, even if it is bleak music, can have a negative effect on that atmosphere. But it also runs double duty because sound is incredibly important in this game. The sound of footsteps, the sound of shots in the distance. This entire time, if you've been listening carefully, there's been shots to our northeast. There's been people fighting, we can hear that. And music would only seek to lessen that, to make that harder to work with. No, pitching, okay. Yeah. Someone has just banished the boss that we're looking for. So, those people now have a task ahead of them. They've banished the boss, but if you look in the top left there, you can see that there's a timer. It's, you know, increasing in percentage as time goes. And so, during that time, they have to defend themselves, because everyone knows where they are, everyone knows where the boss lair is, and everyone wants that bounty, and they can get that bounty by grabbing it for themselves, or by killing these players and then grabbing it. So we're going to be a little bit quiet at this point, because we need to focus on the fight. And then we'll deconstruct what we've been through afterwards.
Later.
You've got a Winnie Max, right?
Yeah. Oh.
Oh. Uh-oh. Hey, dude. You got levering?
I do.
Okay. Feels so rusty. First game of the day.
Oh, yeah.
Do I hear an emulator to the east?
You hear choke bombs.
Ah. Oh. Crow
And to the
southeast.
southeast.
Yep. There's dogs next to me. I've got to be careful of that.
Yeah. Bird.
So even here in the middle of a fight, like, I have to watch out for these AI because they can present an obstacle for me. People, yeah, southeast are coming closer. Oh, east now. That one. Oh, fuck.
I'm gonna deal with the dogs.
Okay. Okay, another one.
That's a chaos.
Okay.
I'm going around.
Alright, just take it easy, don't, you're on your own right now. Oh, you got a guy behind you here. You
We
traded.
traded.
Oh, fuck. That is an Apto. I thought that was the Chaos. Are you kidding me? I thought that was just the Chaos Bomb. I need this dude to not be here, please. Oh, no. No. Great. I'm gonna back away here.
Yep.
I need
that's
distance from that gun.
Mm-hmm.
They might burn you here, unfortunately.
Not burning now.
Worst part is this isn't the boss team, so even after we deal with these guys, we're gonna have another pair of people that we have to deal with. Oh. I'm gonna be honest with you. I haven't been playing much recently, and being at 5 stars is not ideal.
Oh.
But that's life. Let me know if you see anybody.
I'm looking.
Gamer position here. That was an actual aftermath. I'm not going crazy, right?
I believe so.
Pumpkins. Aha. Yeah, that's an apto. Son of a bitch. Ah, she saw me. Oh, he saw me. you kidding me? She's the one you killed, isn't she? Isn't she?
No, not her.
No? Okay.
No. One I killed is
You killed the dude.
tier 2.
That dude there. It's a Winnie. Okay, no, I don't think it's an Apto. I do think that was a Chaos Bomb mixed in with just actual bullets.
Okay.
Oh, this is bad. I don't like this. Crossing out the open. It's scary. So you're on fire. Care to explain what being on fire does? What sort of questions that presents?
So you have a number of health bars in this game. The health bars can be big chunks, which are 50 bars, and small chunks, which are 25 bars, to a total of 150 health. Your last bar is always a 50 chunk, and whenever you go down in the game, you lose 1 chunk of health. If you are on the ground, someone can burn your body by throwing some form of fire on it, that being like a lamp or a Molotov, which are called fire bombs. And then you'll start burning. And when you're burning, you are slowly continuing to lose more of those health chunks. So by the time your teammate revives you, you have significantly less total health.
Oh dear. I'm gonna put this fire out now.
Yep.
Did that work? It did. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They know where I am, don't I? Don't they? No? Okay, I'm safe.
Cool.
Over there. Yeah, okay, she saw me. Ah, that sucks. Didn't have time to shoot. Okay, so that was our first game. Yeah, this is going to be all night. As I said, I'm rusty, and unfortunately my MMR is quite high right now. So we're going to get a little bit of this low skill nonsense from me.
Yeah, it's okay.
But yeah, let's talk about what happened there. So we spawned to the north, we collected clues, we found out where the boss is. The boss got banished and killed before we could get to it. And then another team who had the same objective as us, who were going for the same boss, rocked up at roughly the same time that we did. So the boss team were actually in the lair, which was underground there the entire time. And that left us with this situation where they were just going to sit. They had no reason to do it, to put themselves in any risk, because they had 2 separate teams above them fighting each other. Fighting for the prize of having to fight them as well, which is a dubious prize at best.
Yeah.
But there it is. And so we find ourselves in an interesting situation there where there was a bit of confusion, there was a bit of lack of knowledge, there was communication that we had to do there. We had to point out where enemies were, tell everyone what we can, and that's a really important part of this game and games like this, where there is a lot going on and there's a lot of information to work with, and proper not just tactics and strategy, but what's the word? Coordination as well. Is how you get there. And unfortunately, once Max had died, that left us with limited ability to coordinate, because it's just me on my own against 2 people. And that's an interesting situation. And unlike something like Tarkov, or I believe the Cycle and Marauders, I could have gotten Max up there. Max, when he goes down, isn't completely dead, which is why burning is a relevant thing. Him being burned means there's a timer, and once he's completely burned out, he's dead. He's completely dead. But until then, he's just kind of knocked out. He's a little woozy. And so, yeah, that presents an interesting dilemma, because at some point there, when they had him on fire, they were applying pressure to me. They were saying, hey, if you don't come and deal with this fire, your friend's going to die. And your friend has nothing they can do about that. So there are tools in this game to help draw people into fights and effectively prevent people from disengaging. So once you're in a fight, you're kind of tied into it. You can disengage, but if your friend dies or something, you're tied into it. You cannot get out. At least not without significant risk to your teammates. And I think that's interesting design. I think that's I think that it's really cool how this game, unlike some others, actively tries to draw you in to other players. In games like Tarkov or Marauders and stuff, your objectives are usually your own. They'll have similarities with other players, and there may be some shared objectives, but generally speaking, your objectives are dictated more by unique missions that you're given. But here in Hunt, everyone has that shared objective, so even though you do have to get in, wander around, and get out, there is going to be a clash there almost every single time. You cannot avoid it. You cannot play this game, generally speaking, without getting into conflict. And from a design perspective, or like as a selling point, I think that's really good, because some of these games can be, let's be honest, kind of boring at times, where you have a 30, 40, 50-minute game and you don't see a single person. But here it's almost guaranteed, which is really cool. It's having that shared objective, I think, really works in this game's favor.
I'd have to agree. I tried out Marauders, and what I was expecting was... I obviously wasn't expecting Hunt as well,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, Marauders, that's like World War One in space, and we're all pirates. That's cool. I'm interested in that. It's also extraction shooter in the title. Excuse me. And then I play it, and then I'm like, oh, so there's not really anything pushing all of the players to want to get in the similar vicinity, really.
Mm-hmm.
It was very disjointed in terms of like player objective.
Yeah.
One objective sends you to the kitchen, another objective sends you to like the gym in the building. Two people can go in, go to their respective areas, and leave and not even know the other person is there.
Right. Yeah, the shared objective works well. I think it's a good strong point in this game's favor. You're not gonna get those games where people are just wandering around doing nothing. There's been exceptions in the past, but as a general rule, that's how this game goes. You're always gonna fight, so you have to be ready for it. So, the other part of extraction shooters, obviously, is the persistent inventory and the characters and stuff like that you have. So, between games, that you level up your hunters, you buy gear for them and stuff like that. That hunter, the one I was playing there, is dead. She died, she's gone. But I have here a list of hunters that I have brought into other missions and stuff, and they've leveled up a little bit. And so that gives us opportunity to talk about traits and upgrades. So there are a number of ways that you can prepare your hunter for the upcoming fight, for the upcoming match. The obvious one is weapons and equipment and consumables, but the other, arguably potentially more important one, or certainly more important than maybe consumables, are your traits. So your hunter levels up, and they gain trait points, which you can see here in the bottom left. And with those, we can purchase these traits, and these all give passive effects, passive buffs that improve gameplay for us. Some of them are kind of quality of life features, others are genuinely really big changes that can actually change how you play. So let's have a little look at these. What have we got? We've got Frontiersman. So carried tools can be used one extra time. So this lets us take more health kits, more trip mines, more choke bombs, throwing axes, any of these tools that you see here that have multiple, that you carry like a quantity of, like these fusees, for example. You can get more of those. You can get more. There's one of the tools is a derringer. You can get more ammunition for your derringer if you wish. So that's really cool. That just makes you more robust. Gives you more room to play with your tools. Or let's have a look at a really big one here. Doctor, which doubles the amount of health that you restore with first aid kits. This is insane. This effectively makes all your med kits pretty much full heals. In fact, they're a guaranteed full heal if you let your lowest bar fill up, because then you go from 50 to 150. And this completely changes how you play, how you treat medkits. And in fact, I don't know about you, Max, but I view like a doctor medkit as like what should be the default, or like what feels like to me the default. Like
Really?
that feel like doctor feels like, oh, now you can finally use medkits. Without doctor, it's like, oh, these are medkits are just this cute little thing to help keep me alive. With doctor on, it's like, no, medkits are an actual genuinely important serious healing item. And that it actually completely changes how I view it, to the point where doctor, I mean, they increased the price this patch, but doctor for me is still like a number one pick, because I see it as necessary. It's a part of how I play the game, I suppose, where medkits to me are quite important, especially because I seem to get hit a lot.
I think we all get hit a lot, to be fair.
Okay.
And with that, something that I think, what I personally think is more important than doctor, because I think doctor is important.
Mhm.
The one, if you compare it to the other, I think physician is more important,
Really?
because I think it's just a timing thing.
So
You know, you like vitality shots because they're quick, but
Yeah.
what if that was your medkit, even
Oh,
if it's a smaller deal?
just for reference, what physician does here, I've got it up on screen. It makes it so that when you're healing, it's quicker. You are quicker to heal with a medkit. It'll also, to I believe, get rid of bleeding and fire as well.
Yes, they will pause it while you are healing.
Yeah.
And then when you finish healing, they will go away.
Right. So it's an interesting point. I guess Max is more of a I don't know how to put it. I guess quality over quantity kind of thing, and I'm more of a quantity person. I like having more healing at the ready.
I think yours is quality, mine is quantity.
Okay.
I think you heal better, I heal quicker.
Sure. I think I don't know. I mean, I don't want to get into like the meta and stuff like that. That's not what this is about. But for me, my choice of doctor is more down to the majority of the time I don't actually need that heal to be half a second faster. Right? I find that the healing speed on the medkit is most of the time good enough. There's been seldom an opportunity where physician would have saved me where doctor wouldn't, if that makes sense. But I mean, that
makes sense.
That's part of what's interesting here. You have a limited number of slots and a limited number of points that you get each game, and so you do have to make these tough decisions. And that's something that they do try and balance around, because everything you take is kind of an opportunity cost. Because if I take doctor here, I can't take physician. I don't get that faster healing speed. If I take doctor because it's so expensive, I can't get something that's really crazy like necromancer, which lets me pick up my friends from a distance, which is huge. Necromancer can really turn the tide of battle. So I have to weigh up these different things, these different options that the game presents me, and I really like that. They've tried to balance the points of these so they're not all like obvious instant picks. Everyone's going to have their favorites, but they've carefully tried to balance this in such a way where every decision is to some degree challenging, because every time you pick something in here, you're removing the opportunity to get something else. Granted, if I get something cheap down here, I can still take everything else at least once, but I have a limited number of traits. I can only take so many, so it's important to really try and hone in on what I'm doing. I can either go for just general traits that are good across the board. Beast Face here is a good example, so is Determination, which gives me faster stamina recovery, same with Pack Mule. But then there are things like Levering here, which means that lever action weapons can fire faster, so that could lead me into a specific build with lever action weapons. Or like, what's another good example? Steady Aim, which means that scopes sway less. That can maybe go into like a long range build, one that uses scopes. And so you can really kind of pick and choose how you want to play from here before you've even gone and chosen your weapons. But let's take a look at the weapons. Let's see what is up on offer here. I know, Max, you can't see my screen, but you can watch the Twitch stream, I guess, to kind of see what I'm showing.
I have that open.
Sweet. All right. So there is quite a large arsenal of weapons in this game. Now, granted, I have a lot of skins, and because of the kind of, let's be honest, crappy UI in this game. Like, for example, I have the Berthier here, but I've also got 2 more skins for it, and it just kind of shows them all next to it. I can't make these smaller.
You can click the common button, which only shows you commons. It doesn't show you legendaries.
Really? There's a thing for that. Oh, wow. Okay, perfect. So, yeah, here is the list of weapons that are in the game. This is every single weapon in the game. I have them all unlocked. And you can see an interesting mix in here. This is all 19th century. For reference, the game is set in 1896, I believe.
Yes.
1895, 1896. So the weapons are all roughly of that era, with some exceptions that we'll get into in a minute. So you've got some fairly basic stuff here. You've got what's a very obvious one? Hang on. You got a Berthier, which is a French carbine. You've got the Caldwell New Army, which was a late 19th century double action revolver. You've got the Caldwell Conversion Pistol, which is a Colt Navy. The Caldwell Pax, which is the single action army. A lot of iconic weapons. You've got your classic side-by-side double-barrel shotgun. You've got a crossbow, if you so wish. There's the Martini Henry, the British service rifle for many years. Well, actually, it was, I say many years, it was kind of short-lived, but it was in service all the way through to, like, the end of World War One. The Mosin Nagant, if you want something that's sort of iconic these days, it's in every bloody game. Nagant pistols. There's an elephant gun in here, a single-barreled shotgun, which is something you don't see in a lot of video games. There's the Schofield revolver here, the Smith & Wesson. There's a Sharps rifle. I can go through it all. The Trapdoor Springfield. The point is, there's a lot of very iconic weaponry in here, and mixed in with it, there are some less iconic things. So, I mean, okay, so we've got these sawn-off Winfields. All right, mare's legs are a thing. Sure, why not? Sawn-off Winchester 1887. The Terminator did it, so why not? But then you've got this Vetterli here, which is... This is an a Swiss military carbine. And then you've got a silenced one. I looked this up. Silencers were a thing at this point. They were made by, you know, the Maxim gun? Like that like kind of Gatling gun style thing. His son, the guy who developed that, I forget his name, Hiram Maxim, something like that. His son developed the first ever silencers. They were for 22 rounds. They were for pea shooters meant for shooting at squirrels and rabbits. They were not meant for. I mean, these are still relatively low caliber rifles, all things considered. But like,
yeah. It's not like they silenced anything like the Sharps rifle or anything.
The Sharps rifle almost certainly didn't get a silencer, no. The Vetterli didn't. The Winchester probably didn't. The Nagant revolver is interesting because it is an example of a revolver that can be silenced, but I don't believe Bramit devices were developed for the Nagant until like the 20th century. I may be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what the thing. And then we get into the weird shit, like we mentioned it last game, but the Aftermath. This isn't a real gun, it needs to be said. But what it is, at least the way the game describes it, is a fully automatic Mosin Nagant. It's a light machine gun in a sense, I suppose. It's a full rifle caliber machine gun in a game set in 1896.
Inspired from the Hewitt.
Yes, it is the Canadian Hewitt rifle, which was a what's the word? A conversion of the Ross rifle. But you can't do a fully automatic Mosin, and it's in the game. And why is that? The answer is because it's cool. I'll get a 3D view of it here so you can kind of get a good look at it. It's got a drum on it. Maybe there were drums back then, I actually don't know. It's got this really interesting bolt thing going on, which obviously doesn't work, but they've tried to make it visually interesting. It's got the cooling jacket here, and some really weird sights that are huge. Not a real gun, but it's interesting. And it's not even the weirdest weapon in this game. Because that almost certainly goes to... I'm just going to look it up. The Bomb Lance here. Another not real weapon. This thing's out of a different game, effectively. I'm not going to sit here and say this doesn't belong, because it's iconic. It's definitely very much a part of Hunt Showdown these days. But this was definitely a weapon that was intended for a different game, and it made its way into Hunt. Which is... I'll get into what I mean in just a second, but let's just talk about this thing. It's a stick. It's got this thwacky end on the back with a trigger on it, and it's got a halberd or poleaxe kind of... spike on the end of it. Or maybe that's the trigger there, actually. I guess that's the trigger. I guess this back bit is just for, I don't know, comfort. And then you see it's got like a little a spear on the top, like a little harpoon with a dynamite stick in it. This is the bomb lance. It fires bombs that stick into people and blow up. So we've gone from a fantasy setting, but with historical weapons, to Captain Ahab's boner.
Yeah, that's about right. That is 100% right. I believe he would use this if he had the opportunity.
He certainly would have. God, he certainly would have. So I did a bit of searching because this isn't a real weapon. But bomb lances were a thing. They were nothing like this. A bomb lance, for reference, was a gun, not a spear. It was a gun that would fire an explosive round. It was like effectively it's hard to describe it. It's like a large bullet that it would fire. That bullet would go into something and then it would explode. Designed for whaling and killing dolphins and sharks and stuff like that. It was a real thing, but it's more akin to like a bolter in 40k than it is this. Wow. This is pure fantasy land. The real bomb lance is actually kind of an insane thing. This is arguably tame compared to the real bomb lance, but this is still nuts. And so this kind of ties into what I said about this being made for a different game, because Hunt Showdown was originally a different game by a different developer. I actually don't have the thing up next to me, so I don't actually remember the name of the developer, but Hunt Showdown was originally being developed as a game called Hunt the Golden Age. And this was a Left 4 Dead-like, effectively. It was 4-player co-op, and I assume a somewhat similar loop where you go in, kill a bunch of, general AI, kill a boss, and get out, right? But there was none of the competitive multiplayer stuff was there, and it was, again, a completely different developer. Wasn't Crytek. And so Crytek, this game was not doing too well. I think the devs were just kind of going under, so they were selling their assets, and they sold Hunt, the Golden Age, and Crytek bought it up. And that brought us Hunt Showdown, and they turned it from this co-op shooter set in the 19th century, again, a very similar setting to this. I believe the Butcher was actually in the original game as well, because I think I saw something like that in the marketing material for it. They took those assets and they turned it into one of the first extraction shooters. Now, not the first. Tarkov, well, it hasn't had a full release yet, did enter the market before this game, but Hunt came out not too long after it. And this, I think, it's my theory anyway, this is an asset from Hunt the Golden Age, because Hunt the Golden Age was way more steampunk. It had, you could just see a lot of the weapon designs. It had historical stuff in there, but it did have a lot of like this sort of larger than life, again, steampunk design in it. And so I feel like this was an asset that they just thought was really cool, and they decided to bring it over.
I think the only change they might have made is, wrapping the grips, those leather grips on it, and be like, all right, now it looks like Hunt.
Maybe I'd have to go back. There's a lot of the concept art for that original game is still knocking around. You can find it, and it has there's Tesla guns and stuff. There were multi-barreled harpoon guns, all that kind of thing. There were some really interesting stuff, and this fits within it. I'd have to look at the concept art again to look at these wraps and stuff just to kind of get an idea to see if that's in there. But I'm pretty sure that this was a kind of an artifact of what this game once was, or what this game could have been. But it's completely out of place, but the community loves it. And I like that. I like that it doesn't really fit, but everyone just kind of looks over it, because it sort of fits. I don't know. It fits in that everyone's used to it and everyone likes it, if that makes sense. It's one of those things that we can overlook the issues with it because it's so fun.
Oh yeah,
and
it's one of the most fun things to use in the game.
I think if anything, that's kind of that's a good metaphor for video games in general. We can overlook the problems if it's fun. We can overlook a stupid story if it's fun. We can overlook terrible graphics if it's fun. We can overlook nonsense if it's fun. And I like that here. The aftermath, questionable. The community at large is actually pretty cold on the aftermath, but the other stuff, yeah.
Later.
We can probably get into that later. But hey, you know what? Let's prep up for another game here, and let's see. So I'm gonna pick Doctor because I'd spent so long talking about why it's great, and I guess I don't know what else to talk about. Let's find what else to grab.
You know what? In honor of the bomb lance,
you're taking it.
I'm bringing the bomb lance.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is another interesting thing that I wanted to talk about, which was we're going on so long. Also, I did get a follow on that. Nick's Attack. Nix, thank you so much for the follow. I really appreciate it. So yeah. My brain's gone now. This is the thing. So what's something that Max, that is really common in team-based games?
Team-based.
What do these games all have in common? Team Fortress 2, Overwatch, League of Legends. What do they all have in common?
They're all hero shooters.
They're all
hero games.
Yes.
They have like heroes.
They're all hero games. They all have classes, importantly, right?
Yeah.
And they all have different roles that you want to fit in with those classes. And Hunt doesn't have that. But it does. It doesn't have that, but it does. Bear with me. I also need to like pick my weapons here. Do I have a vessel lying around?
Put.
So what do I mean by this? Why am I saying such crazy things like this is a game that doesn't have a class system? It doesn't have a class system, but it should. No, it shouldn't. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that under the hood, with the way that people generally should play this game, in my opinion, this kind of has a class system, because as a team, a lot of players don't do this, and both me and Max can attest to this because we've played collectively with dozens of players. People don't look at their team comp all that much. And, you know, if we look at League of Legends, right, you have set roles. You've got your AD carry, you've got your support, you've got your mid, your jungle, and your top laner. And each one of those fits a different part. And with all of those together, you can present an effective offensive against your opponents, right? And in Hunt, there's a similar idea, but it's not quite as spelled out to you. You want to look at your team and put together a composition that can handle a lot of situations, because this game has a variety of situations. There are tight brick buildings that require good close range weapons. There are situations where you're going to be firing across a field at 70, 80, 90, 100 meters. There are going to be situations where there's going to be a lot of enemies and you're going to have to deal with a lot of people and keep shooting, right? And it's hard to do that if you're all using shotguns or if you're all using snipers. And you can build a composition on a team, particularly if you're in trios, to kind of fit this. So Max right now has the bomb lance. He's got his nice close range weapon, and he's got an uppercut to help him kind of fit the gap up to medium range. And that's him. And then I am over here with a Vetterli and a Spitfire. So this Vetterli allows me to engage at medium to long ranges and still be okay at close. And then the Spitfire is going to help me with close. So now we have these two roles. Max is good at breaching places. He's going to be able to attack boss layers more effectively. He's going to be able to deal with AI very well. But in ranged fights, he's going to struggle a little bit. And I'm going to be able to make up that gap where if we do find ourselves in a ranged fight, I can do that. I can fit that role of being the ranged fighter until people get drawn in a bit closer for Max. And so while there is no set class system in this game, the weapons all kind of dictate what kind of role you're going to take in a fight. Last game I took a Sparks sniper. That is a sniper rifle. It's one shot, single shot weapon, takes 4 seconds to reload. But I'm able to hit people for high damage from really long distances. And Max had a Winfield, so when they get closer, he can then start applying the damage, and he had rapid fire, so he could hit much faster. And so, with these things together, it didn't work for us. We ended up losing in that fight, but we were able, you know, we had different sort of ranges covered. We were able to fit different roles. And there are various different weapons that can completely change how you approach this game while your friends are doing whatever they are. And if you can work together and put together a team comp, you can be very effective at a wide variety of situations. That being said, there is value to be had. I'll ready up now. There's value to be had in putting together a shotgun doom stack, right? Where your whole team just has shotguns and you just rush the boss layer and try and fight everyone in close range. there is a strategy to that. Now, admittedly, you can do a similar thing in something like League of Legends or Overwatch, where you just go hard on one particular playstyle and pray that it works. But it is generally more effective, and you're going to win more often if you're able to have a little bit of variety and, I guess, redundancy to what you've got going on, where, you know, you can cover multiple things.
Yeah, I would agree that makes
Sorry,
sense.
that was
thing too with it.
That was a long thing, but I really wanted to talk about that anyway. Carry on. Yeah.
Yeah. So one thing too is the ammo system in this game is broken up into 4 parts.
Yeah.
So you have guns that baseline use special ammo, which is ammo that is harder to come across. Think crossbow bolts, harpoons on the bomb lance, nitro shots.
Nitro being the elephant gun, the big boomstick.
The elephant gun.
Yeah.
And then you have all the other ammo broken up into 3 parts.
Right.
Compact, medium, and long. Compact is going to be ammo that uses itty-bitty tiny rounds. They generally have a bigger ammo pool, and in return also shoot a little faster, but are less effective at range. You have medium ammo, which is meant to be the in-between of both ammo pool and range of compact ammo and long ammo. And long ammo, which is you have a very limited ammo pool, generally speaking, but you do the best damage at longer ranges. And you also have shotgun ammo, which is just shotgun.
Yeah. And you know, touching on special ammo there, you can also get special ammo for the non-special weapons, right? You can get special ammo. So like for the Vetterli here, I could get incendiary ammo, which sets people on fire. I could get high velocity ammo, which travels faster, because there is well, there aren't quite ballistics in this game. Gravity doesn't affect bullets. You do have to lead bullets. You have a speed, and there's FMJ ammo, which travels slower but will carry its damage better and can penetrate walls more easily. And so that can also, like, you know, going into what I was saying, this can affect how you approach the game. And I like the variety that this game presents, and I'm looking forward to see how it continues to give variety. I think it'll be interesting to see what directions this game goes in that regard. What kind of interesting weapons could they add? You know, could they add, you know, like those hybrid shotgun rifles, right? And one of those could be interesting. You know, again, brings up that question of like how you approach different ranges and stuff. Could we get more sort of steampunk-esque or whale punk kind of? I'll deal with this one. Sort of whale punk kind of weaponry, like the harpoon, the bomb lance. There we go. You know, these are all interesting like weapons and interesting sort of questions that they present you, and then there's always the opportunity cost of taking it, right? You know, if you're taking a shotgun, you're denying yourself a ranged weapon, and so you do have to rely on your friends in those situations. Otherwise, you can end up being completely useless.
Mm-hmm. For example, me, I'm entirely reliant on you to carry me this game. That's just a general statement, but I'm also using the bomb lance, so I can't use long range very well.
And another interesting thing about the weaponry in this game, particularly when it comes to how you handle things at close range, is because this is all late 19th century weaponry, or just 19th century weaponry in general.
Let's go to Catfish.
You know, I mentioned the last game I was running a Sparks, which takes 4 seconds to reload between every shot. And so you get this interesting thing where you don't get rapid fire. You can't. There's no semi-automatic weapons in this game, with two small exceptions. Things don't. Chickens at slaughterhouse. You can't just tap fire like you can in Tarkov. There are no semi-automatic weapons. With the exception of the Aftermath, there are no fully automatic weapons. So if you miss a shot in this game, it is so punishing. There it is.
You can't get a shot.
Other side of this fence.
Yep.
Shotgun.
Yep.
No hits. Oh, this is bad. Do we have any... Okay, so I'm gonna try and back away to you.
Yep. Trying to cover as best I can.
Okay. So that's a Mosin and a Rival. Which brings us on to sound design. All the weapons in this game have very distinct sounds, which if you spend a bit of time and learn it, you can get a really good handle of what weapons people are using just from sound alone. I haven't seen
Quite
them.
a big distance too.
Oh yeah, it's really good. Very, very good sound design. The way it affects gameplay as well is very nice. I like it. That's why the Chaos Bomb last game was so effective at confusing us, even though it was ours. Come back into the forest here with me.
Yeah, I heard one jumping around over there.
Let's rotate south a little bit. See if we can outmaneuver these guys.
But
Just gonna take a second here to listen. I hear them sprinting, like in the distance. That shotgun dude has me very concerned, though. I can hear them jumping. They're trying to get an angle on something. Flare gun north. That's the shotgun dude.
yeah.
Mosin worries me a little bit as well. Oh, directly west from me.
Yeah.
If you can, try and let it so he passes me at least, so we can kind of get him sandwiched, sort of. If they run down this main road.
I hear him at 3:30.
Yeah, yeah, I hear him too. This is the Mosin one, I think.
Okay.
Sega241, thank you very much for the follow. I really appreciate it.
Right.
Yeah. Can't see them yet. So another part of the really good sound work in this game is I'm able to roughly pinpoint where these people are just from their footsteps. Very accurately. He's above me, I think. Hive bomb. It's got a hive bomb. One down.
I got the hive.
Okay. So I could hear the bees in the jar. That's how I knew she had a hive bomb. Where's the other one? Do you have any... Oh! This is the Mosin. Okay.
Okay.
Got anything to burn with?
No, I don't.
Okay. It's a rat. She's behind this fence. I could hear her. Over here now. Oh, cheeky fuck. Oh
Watch out,
shit.
they're cooking.
Yeah, I know. I'm fine. They dealt with the AI for me. Thank you. I think she's got dualies and a Mosin.
He's running backwards into the woods.
Yeah. She's trying to get an angle on me, but she can't.
Push up.
You okay there, friend?
Friend?
I mean, we can be friends if you like.
Give you a big kiss on the lips.
Oh, come over here.
That wasn't a kiss.
Hey, now that's not nice.
I'm pushing him.
He's hit.
What happened to the kiss on the lips?
Oh no. Oh dear. Oh, Mosin's sniper. Oh. Beautiful. Okay, so there it was an actual successful fight, and we actually got to demonstrate VoIP, which is always an interesting little thing in any game. It's an interesting facet of this game. The VoIP adds the opportunity to actually team up with players. That's completely fine. Some people will complain, but if you do meet people in this game and talk to them and work it out, that's viable. That works. You can do that. You'll have an uneasy piece, but you can do it. And that makes for some interesting situations. It can lead to unexpected situations. It can lead to you turning the tide on other players. Democracy is an option. You can do a pacifist run in this game. You'd have to have a really, really good speech level to pull it off, but you can do it. It's something that you don't get in single player games. You don't get to like personally word out every single little thing. You don't get to decide how you democratically approach a situation necessarily word for word, but here you can. It's you as a human being trying to affect the gameplay with your words. And that's a unique experience, one that you only get in multiplayer games. I'm not aware of any single player games that really utilize that. And it's quite effective. I've had really fun and interesting interactions in this game. We had that last one where the dude was just making jokes about kissing us and stuff, and that was fun. That's just two people playing games and enjoying it with each other. But like, I've had full-on conversations with people. I've worked out peace deals with people in the past. I've shared bounties. I've done strategies with people. It's cool that you can do that. You can go into a game as adversaries and work together to do it. Okay, so here is a boss. We haven't actually seen one of these yet. Ooh, and he is Halloween themed, right?
Yes.
So there are 4 bosses in the game. This is the Butcher. There's also Scrapbeak, Spider, and the Assassin. The Butcher is a big fiery boy. He has lore. He has interesting visual features. His design is quite nice. The pumpkin is kind of taking away from it right now, I'll admit, but I promise you, this is a cool design. Sort of stitched together, kind of Frankenstein's monster type thing. Yeah, you go for it. And you can see how we're kind of juggling this guy here. I need to be honest, or at least... Wow, okay. I was going to talk about how AI aren't really difficult, but sure. So, AI in this game don't necessarily present a threat on their own. AI... How do I put it? AI are obstacles, and that includes the boss. The bosses can be dangerous if you don't know what you're doing, but once you kind of get used to it and you fight them a few times, bosses aren't difficult. They don't present a challenge. However, what they can present a challenge, or where they can be dangerous, is when other players get involved. If another player turned up while we were fighting this guy, and we were in here, we'd be trapped in here with this big guy swinging his his meat hook around, covered in fire, setting us on fire. It would be a mess, and we don't want that situation to occur. And so that's where bosses really come in and make things interesting. There's loads of different AI. You saw it in the previous game. There was an armored guy coming at me, a guy covered in almost like paper-like armor made from wasps' nests. And he was covered also in concertina wires, so he would have made me bleed, and so he became an issue, whereas normally that AI, in a vacuum, not a problem, not a threat. But he became a threat because I was having to deal with other players. The AI in this game don't seek to be their own game. You can't play this game just for PvE. You can't go into this just wanting to kill AI. The AI actually work to complement the PvP aspect of it. This is a PvPvE game, but there is no E without that second P. You cannot have those AI and have them be effective or interesting without the players in the mix. They seek to slow you down, they seek to prevent you from getting to the boss first, in that case, but also in fights, when you're fighting other players, they can turn the tide of things, they can make things more awkward. You have to deal with the AI, because while they're not threatening on their own, over time, a zombie can kill you if you don't deal with it. An immolator can kill you if you don't deal with it, and I like that. I like the use of PvE in this game. It's not like Tarkov or Marauders or something, or I don't know what other difficult games are there. Deadside? DayZ, I guess? No, not DayZ. Deadside. Games where the AI can be challenging and actually kill you. In this game, on their own, they won't. But as a part of a greater fight, they can issue a really serious challenge.
Oh yeah.
I
think a great example too for that comes in with AI variations.
Yeah.
When you consider oh yeah, a normal grunt, they hit you, they're weak. Now they have a cleaver, now they make you bleed. Now they have a lantern, they hit you and set you on fire. Now there's a billion other factors.
Yeah, and like if you look at the Immolator, for example, Immolator, you know what you're doing, if you're cool, calm, and collected, easy AI to deal with. In the middle of a fight, when there's bullets whizzing by you, one wrong move, that Immolator can mess you up. Because Immolators, we haven't really run into them that much. We've just sort of dealt with them quietly without mentioning them. The guys that you've seen that are just on fire, the whole body is on fire, and they run at you and they scream. And if you just deal blunt damage to them, if you punch them, just smack them around a bit, they won't, they're fine. The normal enemies, they're kind of tanky, but they're not a problem. However, if you pierce their skin, if you shoot them or stab them, they explode, and they will remove a chunk of your health, or they'll set you on fire at the very least. And so you've got to be careful not to stab them or shoot them or let other people shoot them when they're near you. We're clear, by the way. I'll talk about that in a second as well. And so when you find yourself dealing with these guys with other players, it becomes really challenging where otherwise it wouldn't. It's, again, I just think it's really good design. I think the AI do a good job to actually complement the meat of the gameplay, which is the PvP. So, we've defeated the boss, we've banished him, we've picked up the bounty. So in the bottom left there, you can see I have boosted Dark Sight. So normally when we use Dark Sight, we're using it to find clues. But now, if I scan, you can see that it's clear. There's nothing there. But if there were hunters nearby, if there were enemies, they would be highlighted in orange. And so this gives us the approximate locations of enemies around us. But we only have roughly 5 uses of it, 5 seconds of use. And so we've got to be really careful with it. And on top of that, now, if you look on the map, you can see these lightning bolts coming down on us. So now every other player knows where we are. By virtue of having this bounty, every player knows our exact location at all times. Now, they can't see us in dark sight. They can't, you know, they can tell that we're in a building perhaps, but they wouldn't be able to tell what floor of that building we're on. Oh, shit. There we go. Yeah, they wouldn't be able to tell what floor of that building on we are, but we can't run away, right? If there were enemy hunters around us, they could follow us to the ends of the earth. And so that's a real issue, and that makes having the bounty somewhat dubious until you know that there are no other hunters. So you can pick it up and get information, but now everyone else has really good information about you. It's much harder to hide when you have the bounty. Not impossible, but harder. It's harder to... Oh, shit! One more, what, 210?
Bagged him.
Good, I've got a heal. What the hell are these guys doing?
Throwing dynamite.
Okay. Down the hill.
Yep. That way.
Another label.
Come here.
Sorry.
Ah, you're good, you're good, you're good.
Oh man. Well, I got to show what the dark side did there, but didn't get to use it much to my advantage. Where did these guys come from?
I think they were waiting for us. We heard fighting after the other bounty left, so I imagine they were just trying to set up an ambush.
And I guess here comes in the other beautiful element of multiplayer games. Human beings are very unpredictable. And can just come out of the fucking woodwork when you least expect it. Holy shit.
Where was that first? Oh my god.
I thought he was a zombie. I legit looked at him for a second. I was like, wait a minute. What did he have? I fucked him up. He had a bounty. I'm gonna take that gun.
Go for it.
Okay. Jesus H. Christ. I mean, fair on them for trying it, but my god.
Another aspect of the game, while the dark sight is limited, you get some back from looting dead hunters.
Yes, true.
Or, if there's multiple bosses on a map, which there can be 2, if you collect a clue while you have a bounty token, you will also get a second back.
And so that seeks to make the boosted dark sight more useful. It seeks to make it sort of less of a hindrance by giving you effectively more time with it. It's still, again, fairly dubious. Because as those guys there, so the reason that was able to happen, that entire ambush that they set up, is because they knew we were coming. They didn't need to hear the gunshots. They didn't need to, like, figure out, oh, well, hang on, the the extract is here, so if they're going to be coming this way, we should set up here. They can see our lightning bolts coming towards them on the map, so they can just work with that. And that's really cool. That means that, you know, we're putting ourselves at a disadvantage, but, you know, with that risk comes the reward. We were at that disadvantage, but we will come out of this better off for it because we have this bounty. Now, there are other ways of doing it. We could do what they did, right? We could wait for someone else to get the boss, and then we kill them. So then we're at a lower risk, and we can catch them off guard. But because we assumed that the place was empty, we scanned, we didn't see anyone, we figured we were safe. Alright, another good game.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I didn't say that, but Nick's Attack, who was the first person to follow the stream, one of the devs, by the way.
Oh, wow.
So that was, yeah, that's really cool.
That's a cool guy.
Okay, so we're going to take a short 5-minute break. Just going to refill my drink here, take a bio break, do all that normal healthy human stuff. So we'll be back just very shortly, 5 minutes, if that. In the meantime, there will be a short ad break. The ads will be over before we get back, so don't worry about it. You won't miss a thing. So 5 minutes. Stick around. Oh, and Max? Max is gone. That's good. No, it's all good. I'll type it to you. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Yeah, you got it.
Stick around, folks. Hello, folks. I'm back, and I'm joined once again by Max, I believe.
You know, maybe.
There he is.
If I'm still Max, then yes.
If you're still Max, I'm pretty sure you are. So, we just had a fairly intense game. Not crazy intense, definitely not our worst, but like fairly intense. I think you would agree.
Yeah, I mean, I think it went very well.
It did go pretty well, actually. We didn't die once. And I came out of it with a new weapon that I picked up.
Ooh.
And I guess that's another way that this game differentiates itself from other extraction shooters. You don't have a stash space, inventory space, I guess, on your character. You can carry 2 weapons. There's a limit to how big those weapons can be. But that's about it, right? So if I find a new weapon in game, I do have to remove my existing one. So you can't build up this huge dragon's horde, right? At least not easily. Not without having to purchase other weapons to replace them. I like that. I do like that. You don't end up in a situation like I have with Tarkov, where in Tarkov I have this huge pile of like 50 weapons. And it's all like, I'm going to use them at some point, I promise. But then they just keep coming in at a rate faster than I can use them. You don't get that with Hunt, which is, again, another way this is an extraction shooter, but it differentiates itself from the competition pretty well. So, we've just spent about an hour and 10 minutes talking about what Hunt Showdown does well. But let's take a moment to maybe look at some of the pitfalls of this game. So Max, I'm going to start with you. I'm going to put you on the spot. What is something about this game that you think Hunt doesn't do well? What is something? Take a minute if you need to. But what is a shortcoming of Hunt in your eyes? What is something where the game could improve, but is unfortunately not too great right now?
I think currently one of the only things that's like a glaring issue right now is the design perspective of the way the weapons are balanced in the game is really good in theory.
Okay.
And I think in practice it needs a bit of work.
Give me some examples.
Sure. So a beautiful example, right? And I'm not saying there can't be things that break the mold either, or things that can't be outside of the general consensus of what the game has going on.
Right.
But a really, really good example, I think, is if you take a look at the Bornheim,
Sure.
the regular old Bornheim.
Yeah, the Bornheim. Okay. Yep.
All right, so the Bornheim has 5 rounds plus 1 in it.
Yep.
So you can have up to 6 rounds in it, and in reserve you have 10 rounds. Part of the balancing factor of compact ammo, even when it shoots quickly, is that you have a bit more ammo reserve when compared to other weapons. And even the Bornheim, as one of the faster firing alternatives to something, say, like a New Army, which itself has 6 rounds in it, it gets 12 in reserve, And I think I understand why it's currently like that, but all it ends up making is the Bornheim a gun that loses its steam incredibly quickly unless you have another gun that shares ammo with it, like a full-sized Winfield.
Right.
So a good comparison being the new army. I think it's a good comparison because they're literally sitting next to each other in the weapons menu. It gets 2 more shots than the Bornheim. I'm not saying they have to have the exact same ammo pool, but one of the problems with the Bornheim is that when you go to reload it, if you are not reloading from empty, you are going to lose a round.
Right.
You start off a match down 1 round in the gun, so reloading it off game start means you lose another round. It's not a gigantic issue, but it's like a flaw, I think. I think the Bornheim needs to get a little bit more ammo potentially to counteract that.
I think another thing about the Bornheim that does make it quite a weak weapon is, we've talked about this before, but your maximum health is 150. The Bornheim deals 74 damage with every shot. And so what that means in practice is you need to at least hit someone 3 times in order to kill them. And as you may have seen in the fights that we've had today, getting even a single shot on target can be quite difficult because people are moving, the bullets have travel time, you've got to lead your shots, and so hitting people can be quite difficult. That is twofold with handguns, with pistols. They have a much slower muzzle velocity, so it's harder to hit then. So you've got this handgun with, I think the Bornheim has the highest muzzle velocity of all the handguns, with the exception of like the Sparks pistol and uppercut. But even then, it's still slow compared to the rifles, and so it's hard to hit with, hard to get 2 shots on target reliably. Getting 3 is really, it's quite a feat. And so that reduces its reliability. But on top of that, it is also the lowest damage pistol in the game. And with it having low damage and a really low ammo capacity overall, again, it's 16 rounds, that's assuming you don't lose any, it has the lowest damage ceiling, right? The maximum amount of damage you can deal with this gun is 74 times 6. While with the Caldwell New Army here, it has 18 rounds, and so the damage ceiling on this is 97 times 18. It's practically 1800 damage, right? That's enough to pretty much wipe an entire server with just 1 gun. You can't do that with the Bornheim.
To take it to an extreme, right? If you were to compare to the Bornheim to another gun that can have a maximum of 6 rounds and have about 10 bullets in reserve, you're comparing it to an uppercut.
Right.
Which is a long ammo revolver. So it's a revolver that is specifically using like rifle cartridges, and the devs have talked about this. They want it to function like a pocket rifle, so it has solid damage, good drop off, high muzzle velocity, and it only has 1 less round total when compared to the Bornheim.
Yep. It has other drawbacks as well. It has a really low rate of fire compared to other pistols.
Low rate of fire. It's expensive now.
It's got a lot of recoil, so lining up the second shot after the first can be difficult. It is expensive, but money is its own kind of problem when it comes to balancing. And it takes a while to reload as well. The Bornheim is actually relatively quick to reload, all things considered.
Yes.
But it is that is the uppercut is absolutely an issue there. You can see from empty to load 6 rounds in it, it's 15 seconds. So the uppercut is balanced, but it is between that and the Bornheim, it's mostly a no-brainer. There are situations where you probably prefer the Bornheim to the uppercut, particularly close range fights, but in the vast majority of situations, the uppercut is just a superior weapon. And so yeah, therein shows a sort of not necessarily a whole, but sort of how certain weapon designs are very difficult to balance, because something that is fast firing and low recoil, like the Bornheim, is very difficult to get right when every other weapon in the game, as we mentioned, is slow firing. This isn't Tarkov or Marauders or Call of Duty or whatever. There are, you can't pre-fire a corner, right? You can't just blast a bunch of rounds down range, and as long as a couple of them hit, it's okay. You have to, every shot counts. Every miss that you have is an opportunity for your opponent to retaliate, because it takes, like on the Mosin, it has a 36 rounds per minute rate of fire, so that's just over around a second. So between each shot is you have a full second almost before the next shot is in the gun. A second is an eternity. With the sparks, it's 4 seconds between each shot, so that if you miss with the sparks...
4 eternities.
4 whole eternities. If you miss with the sparks, you're putting yourself at serious risk. And so you have to make these shots count. And so the Bornheim tries to mitigate that in some way by letting you have that higher rate of fire, by letting you spam a little bit. But it is completely offset by the low ammo reserve. It gives you this weapon that can do a thing, but then also makes it one of the worst weapons to do that thing. It tries to solve a problem, then it reintroduces the same problem to itself. And so, we can look at these weapons, and balance has changed over time. The Bornheim used to be a meta weapon, believe it or not, as much as we talk about it now like it's trash. It was once the go-to pick. But the problem is that because it's such a wildly different design to the other handguns in the game, balancing it has obviously proven to be a bit of a challenge. And I can't sit here and honestly say, oh, I know how to balance it. You just need to do X, Y, or Z. I can't. It's nice to say, hey, well, we can fix its problem by giving it a higher ammo reserve, but then how many more bullets is the right amount? Because too many, it does just become a spamming gun again. You can just start shooting away and not care about how much ammo you've got. So there's a genuine issue there. And again, I don't know how to fix it. But it is an issue of a flaw, I suppose, in, if not the design of the weapon, at least in how that weapon fits into the rest of the game.
100%. Yeah. I think another good comparison where I don't think the balance is necessarily perfect, and this isn't going to be between two different this isn't going to be between two different ammo types, so where it's like, oh, well, there's trade-offs. This is 2 guns that have the same ammo type, and the issue comes from a lacking amount of, I don't want to say care, maybe a lack of attention into one. Comparing the Scotfield and its variants to the PAX and its variant.
Yeah, so I've got those up on screen right now. So this is a great demonstration. So here's the Scotfield Model 3. So let's just look at this compared to the PAX. So the lines in white are the Scotfield, the lines in red are the PAX. So the PAX does a little bit more damage, which gives it a better range. It has a better rate of fire. Its handling is lower, which is a bit of a what's the word? Abstract stats, but generally speaking, that means recoil and weapon sway. The Scotfield reloads a bit faster, but the PAX has a higher muzzle velocity, making it easier to hit with. And the other 2 stats are the same. The melee damage is irrelevant here. So at the base, okay, overall, PAX is a better weapon than the Scotfield. I don't think anyone would argue with that. The problem with the Scotfield is its shortcomings are made up by its variants. So if we look over here at the Spitfire and compare it, okay, so we've got the same damage as the base Scotfield, sure, so that gives the same effective range. The muzzle velocity is the same. The handling is a little bit worse, but it's still better than the PAX. Yep. Spitfire handling is worse than the base Scotfield, but still better than the PAX. And then here's the big thing. Look at that rate of fire bar, 77 RPM. That is considerably faster than the PAX. And so when this is
approaching the double actions.
Yes. So with this gun in the game that does comparable damage to the PAX, it is slightly less, but it is very slight. In most situations, that difference is not, like, it isn't going to win you or lose you a fight. It's very rare that that's going to make a difference. The handling is somehow better than the PAX, for whatever that's worth. The reload speed is still faster than the PAX. And this rate of fire is insane. And so now it's like, well, the Spitfire's here. Why pick the PAX? Well, there's the money difference, but $28 isn't a huge amount, and there are plenty of players in this game who have thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars where the price does not matter to them. Removing the price from the equation, you look at these and go, you have to ask yourself, which of these is worth taking? Do I take the PAX or the Spitfire? And with some very, very slight exceptions, the Spitfire is going to be better the majority of the time. The PAX, the one thing the PAX has over the Spitfire is it's a little bit better at range.
I think with that as well, right? when we're talking about this, it's sort of looking at like, okay, well, where does this gun do better than the PAX? Where does it do worse?
Right.
It has comparable damage.
Yep.
So the range is not really as much
It's the
a
same.
big factor here.
It's the same, effectively.
Effectively the same. The handling on these two is also effectively the same.
Yep.
So really what it comes down to is like when you're looking at the main differences is rate of fire and muzzle velocity. The rate of fire on the PAX is significantly slower, but it has a bit of a faster muzzle velocity. What is it, 50 meters a second, right?
Yeah, 50 meters.
That's nothing to sneeze at. That's a noticeable difference, right? Okay. So you'd think, oh, well, there's the solution. The PAX is better for using at a range versus the Spitfire, which is better using for close quarters. Now let's consider what kind of gun we're talking about. We're talking about a sidearm. We're talking about a secondary, a pistol slot.
Yeah.
You want it to be used usually for close range, because if you're going to use it with a gun that shares an ammo type, you're looking at the Springfield, which is a high damage single shot weapon.
Long range kind of weapon as well, generally.
Yep.
Yep.
You have the Vetterli, which is, I think, just a good workhorse weapon, right?
Yep.
It's solid all around, but it can do good range. And the Centennial, which is good range, shoots decently quick.
It's a solid medium
Right.
range option. Yeah.
Yeah, a solid mid-range option. The PAX doesn't do anything to benefit being the sidearm for any of those guns. The Spitfire shoots faster than all of them.
Yeah, the PAX benefits shotguns the most.
Mm-hmm. And then you consider... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, and unfortunately, the only advantage this has over other quote-unquote long-range pistols is the price. Which again, you know, if we're talking about a good chunk of the population of this game, I'm low in cash right now because I've been playing like an idiot, but like a lot of people buy budget builds a lot of the time. They play quite conservatively, or they just are reliably good and they're good at making money in this game. The cost of these guns is irrelevant to those people. It doesn't make a difference. So when someone looks at a PAX and then looks at the uppercut, which we talked about earlier, everyone's going to pick the uppercut like every single time. There's no good reason to take this over the uppercut, you know, ignoring the price. And so for me right now, sure, you look at my money, the difference between this and the uppercut is huge. This is free compared to the uppercut, but I've been in plenty of situations where money has not been an object for me. And
I have
a lot of players are.
$33,000.
Max has $33,000. Max doesn't give two shits about the cost of these guns.
Yeah.
And so the PAX just sits in this weird spot right now where it doesn't have much of a reason to take it. Its only variant is the PAX Claw, and this just makes it better in melee.
Albeit, the PAX Claw variant is usually better than the Scotfield Brawler variant.
Yes, generally. Because it has all the benefits that the PAX has without the drawbacks that the Brawler has. So that's good, but like it's not enough to make the PAX worth it, really. Melee is a very small part of actual PvP in this game. There's the Bomb Lance, which is a dedicated melee weapon, which you saw Max make good use of last game, but Max got kind of ideal situations there to use the Bomb Lance. A lot of the time, its melee weapons are kind of dead in this game. And melee on a gun is rarely used. It's often still just as quick just to switch to your melee weapon anyway. It's rarely that much of a big boon to have the melee on the gun.
About a quarter-second difference.
Yeah. And then, you know, let's round this out and talk about the other Scotfield variant. We'll be very quick on this. This is the Scotfield Swift. It is identical to the normal Scotfield in pretty much every single way. If you look at the stats there, the red is the Swift, the white is the base Scotfield. Identical in every stat except reload speed. The Swift, every time you reload it, all the bullets come out, and then it has a speed loader, so you just cram those in, you load the gun in 4 seconds flat. Same, you know, to reload 6 rounds in this pistol takes the same amount of time as loading a single round in the Sparks rifle that I talked about earlier. So this is really quick. And so there is a trait in this game called fanning, which lets you, as the name suggests, fan the hammer of the revolver to fire it faster. You can go through all 6 rounds in a revolver in a second or 2 seconds. It's very quick. And so what this lets you do is if you're fanning, or if you're, say, dual wielding, so you're shooting 2 guns rapidly, this lets you reload those guns very quickly. And so this is for sustained rapid fire. And again, that's maybe another area that the PAX was once actually very good at, but with the introduction of the Scotfield Swift, that reason went out the window. Because again, compared to the PAX, they're on very similar grounds. The Scotfield is marginally worse, but with the speed loader, it elevates it way higher than the PAX when you're looking at things like dual wielding or fanning.
100%. I think the way that you could fix this, if we're talking about like actual fixes here, I don't think that there is a problem necessarily in the Scotfield being a better dedicated close range weapon compared to the PAX.
Right.
But what they should do to help reinforce that is to give the PAX some variant of some kind that lets it excel at that farther range.
So you're going to go into like the long barrel PAX here then?
You could do a long barrel PAX, you could do a carbine. I've seen people suggest because you could get like a wire stock for the Colt, right? Yeah. Which is all fine and dandy. I think it would be really fun to have a long barrel variant. Heck, make it a 2-slot, because one thing that's not showing on your stream is the 2-slot Scotfield variant.
Where is it? Wait, what?
Because you were only showing.
Oh, there it is. There it is. I couldn't see it. So yeah.
Yeah, no worries. That's a Scotfield that shoots a little bit faster because you have like a 3rd point of leverage, and is otherwise identical to the Scotfield. Like, you have slightly less recoil, shoot a little bit faster, but it takes up 2 slots, which is a legitimate downside. You can't bring that with a sniper rifle.
Yeah.
But I think they should give the PAX something like that to where it can go, okay, this is 100% a genuine competitor for something like the uppercut, because you give it a significantly longer barrel, you can do a lot more with that, or the wire stock barrel variants, whatever you want to do.
Interesting. So yeah, that's an area that this game is kind of lacking in. And again, not to get into the minutiae of balancing, I think I speak for both of us here when I say that I think the balancing in this game is actually generally very good.
Yes,
this game gets it right a lot. And as I was talking about earlier, where different weapons can help you fit into different roles, they can only do that because they do play off each other very well, because they do provide tangible advantages over each other in different situations. And the fact that they can do that there is very little in the way of all-purpose guns in this game is a testament to how well these things are balanced. It hasn't become what's the word? It hasn't all become the same. It hasn't become
Diluted?
Words. No, not diluted. The word's gone. Aphasia's getting me. But yeah, that's really gonna bug me. I can't get that word now. It's on the tip of my tongue. But yeah, it hasn't become a case where every weapon is just kind of similar, and you could pick any weapon and just kind of go with it, like a lot of games do have. There's actual, real, tangible differences between these guns that you can feel, and you can really, like, you can pick up 3 different weapons in this game, and you can immediately pick up, oh, okay, I can kind of see what this gun's good for. Oh, okay, I see how this can cause problems in this kind of situation, right? And I like that. Rather, if I was to pick up, again, I'm going to throw Call of Duty under the bus here, just because I can. If I was to pick up any assault rifle or SMG in Call of Duty, or even a semi-automatic weapon, I can kind of go, oh, okay, I can kind of do anything with this gun. Or this, I can kind of see the role this is going for, but it can also do everything the other guns can do, There's way less of that in Hunt. I can't pick up a shotgun and go, okay, I can kind of still shoot people at range with this. I can't pick up a pistol and go, okay, this is really good in close range. Let me handle the people 100 meters out with this. Or I can't pick up this Nagant silencer, which has low damage, low rates of fire, and go, okay, I can use this against hunters just like I would with any other gun. It's like, no, this is mostly just for killing AI. And I like that. I like that those roles really come through with the weapons. So to bring a positive note to all of this, they do a really good job with the variety here.
And I think one thing to add to that, lastly, when it comes to like the way that these weapons specifically are balanced,
Mm.
comparing it to something like Call of Duty, the big difference I feel between this game and a game like Tarkov or something like Call of Duty, like games that are shooters at all, attachments. You're not dealing with attachments a lot. It's not, oh, well, I'm going to throw on this scope that makes it the best for this thing, and I'm not going to throw on this underbarrel that does this, and extended magazine. The variants in the game are your quote-unquote attachments. If you want to take it a step further, you could argue ammo type, but that's a lot less... it's still more commitment than any other game's attachment system.
Yeah, definitely. You can't swap in the middle of a game either, like you can in some. It's pretty relevant. So moving on to something quite different. This one's a bit of a mixed point for me. They do a lot of this well, and they do a lot of it not so well. And that's the storytelling. So, you know, to give full credit to the writers of this game, the writing is fine. The writing in this game is not a problem. It's actually quite compelling in some areas, which is great. The lore of this game is really interesting, but the problem is a lot of players, if not most of them, do not know the lore to this game. And I don't mean this in the sense like players don't know necessarily the lore to Dark Souls, where the storytelling in that game is actually really well done. It's just obfuscated. The storytelling in this game exists in written form, en masse, and it's here in this corner of the main menu. I'll get into why this is a mixed point rather than just a negative one in a minute, because that's actually what the next section of this whole stream video is going to be. So here we have 3 books. This first one's a manual. It's irrelevant. But here we have the Monstrorum book, and here we have the Book of Weapons. If we look on Liber de Monstrorum, you can see that through gameplay, I've unlocked bits of lore about these different enemies. So here's actually all the enemies in the game. As far as AI is concerned, you've got the Assassin, the Butcher, the Spider, and Scrapbeak. These are the bosses. Then you've got Grunts, Armoreds, Hives, Immolators, Meatheads, Hellhounds, and Water Devils. And so these all have their own origins, their own stories associated with them, like, you know, what makes them what they are. You know, if, let's look at the... Oh God, is the Hive too grim to look at? Or do we...
No, I wouldn't say so.
Sure. So let's look at the Hive. So you can see here that we've got all these different notes and stuff that talk about the Hive. So, and I've unlocked these just by killing Hives throughout playing the game, you know. And so you can see here, Hive, a researcher's insight into the Hive updated. Or undated, sorry, not updated. I'm going to read out this whole thing. It's just 2 paragraphs.
Yeah.
Of the 10 creatures I have researched thus far, it is the Hive who haunts my dreams. Though she appears to have been classified alongside the other grunts, she was a far more dangerous creature, setting a swarm of insects upon any human in range until their bodies were punctured and swollen and heaving with their vile poison. Only her own death, the death of their host, the Hive Mother, stopped their persistent attacks. Though she could be safely killed from afar with a shot to the head, the positioning of her body made the task difficult even for the best marksman. Blunt damage could harm her, though little else, and in the time it might have taken to try, her beastly swarms would have already stung their prey into flight or submission. Looking at the bigger picture, I am attempting to understand the purpose each form served in the eye of their creator. Documents I have collected, in particular the interviews with Ada Shell, have led me to hypothesize that the Hive's function was both to host and to disseminate the malady. Convert or kill at a distance, perpetuate the race. I am reminded of the writings of Trask, active at that time, who was convinced that a woman's divine mission was the perpetuation of the race through continuous breeding. The seed of this idea, twisted though it became, was personified in the first Hive on record, as you will see. And then it goes on with all these different entries, and these are interviews with Ada Ruth Shell, who was, I believe, the first Hive, or like, you know, someone related to like the Hives. I won't go in. There's a lot here, but the quality of writing there is pretty solid. It's compelling. I think this is actually well done, and this isn't even getting into the story. This is just kind of setting up for the story, which you have to unlock by killing Hives. And herein lies the problem, is that if I want to learn about Hives, this isn't presented to me in-game at all. As far as I'm aware, there is nothing in the actual gameplay of this game that presents the story to you. There's little things here and there, but there isn't anything that really even hints at what a hive could be. You only know about it because there's this block of text here that you can read. And while, as I said, the writing is compelling, it's well written, the story is interesting. I do, if you do have this game, read these documents. They are dark. The reason I hesitated to talk about the hive is because it involves messed up pregnancy. It's dark. It goes into some pretty depressing stuff, and it's really interesting. I like it. It's good writing, but it's not presented in a way that is compelling. The writing itself is, but you have to already be kind of interested in just reading. If you want to play the game and get the lore through the game, you can't. It's not there. It doesn't exist. These are glorified wiki entries, you know?
Yeah.
And
no, 100%. It sort of makes a kind of an issue where you will, and this was my issue with the game for a while, though not as much anymore because I've played enough of it, so I've unlocked a majority of the things. But I'll go, oh, hey, the hive, for example. The hives are pretty cool. I wonder if I can know anything about them. Oh yeah, you check out the book thing. Oh, okay. And then you look in it, and then you haven't unlocked everything yet, so you just go, oh, I guess I just don't get to know.
I mean, yeah, if we kind of going on from that, if I look at meatheads here, this is the only one I don't have everything unlocked for.
Same. I'm working on it, though.
Yeah. And so I've got all these things, I'm reading, I'm really interested, I'm loving this book. Oh, the pages have been torn out. You know? Oh, well, how does it end? Where does it go? I don't know. I may never know because I have to kill 50 meatheads with melee. Meatheads are the hardest enemies in the game to kill with melee to the point where it is completely impractical. This is not how you... This is encouraging me, if I want to keep reading, to play the game in a very inefficient and poor way, in a way that would likely get me killed.
Has gotten me killed.
Has gotten Max killed, and I'm pretty sure has gotten me killed. It's not worth it. And so because I would have to make such a sacrifice in gameplay, it is not worth it to me to try and unlock this last one. I may do it eventually, but I have 1,000 hours in this game, and I haven't done it. You know, it's a long way off. And the thing is, I can. Sorry, if I can just finish.
Yeah.
I can read this. I can take. You know, I can't read it here right now, but as I said, these are glorified wiki entries, and I know that because all these are on the wiki. I can just go to the meathead page on the wiki and read this, right? There's no need for this to be in the game other than the fact that it should be in the game because they need to deliver it. It'd be very poor form to only deliver all this through an external Wikipedia, fandom wiki. But the fact of the matter remains that if you do want to read the lore, the best place to go is the wiki, and that's not great. The game should serve up the lore. The game should serve up the story and do that in an interesting way. Max, you were saying something. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. You were in the middle of your thing. I will say that I have been very actively trying to kill meatheads.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you weaken it down with something else and finish it off with melee, it is incredibly hard.
Yeah, it is.
I've probably died to meatheads almost as often as I've killed a meathead with melee, and I'm at 30.
Jeez. Okay.
I've been trying this for 2 months.
Oh my god. Yeah. So there's a problem. But so the reason I'm saying this is not necessarily an entirely bad thing, at least the storytelling as a whole in this game, is for two reasons. One, this is ultimately at the end of the day a multiplayer game, right? It's PvP, and the focus here isn't on the story. It is good story, and it's why I'm lamenting this, because it's actually really interesting. But ultimately, I don't know how you would properly deliver that story through gameplay. There's not a good way of doing it. And while I don't necessarily think that this is the way to do it, because these are, again, just wiki pages, I don't think there would be a good way to do it through gameplay. Tarkov does it by drip feeding you missions, and those missions have story in them. There's environmental storytelling, which is what I'm going to get into in a minute, which does help with little things, but it doesn't actually tell you much about the lore at large. It more or less tells small stories about individuals or like what's happened in a particular compound, a particular city, a particular town or a building, not necessarily the issue at large. Well, it can give you little pieces of that, I suppose. And you know, there's other things like the descriptions of weapons and the descriptions of the hunters and stuff like that, but in actual gameplay, the story is irrelevant in this game, and as such takes not just a backseat, but the backseat of the car behind it. And it's a shame, because what is here is really good, and absolute credit to the writers. They've done a good job here. This is actually, again, I'm not going to say this is like the best thing I've ever read, but it's compelling and interesting, and I like it. They've crafted a really interesting world here that I would like to get to learn more about. So, while this part isn't great, what is really good in this game is the environmental storytelling, which is what we're going to get into now. So I'm actually going to disband this party.
Yeah, go for it.
And we are going to do a little bit of free roaming on a map. So Max, can you think of any particular compound that would be interesting to look at? That you think tells a good story?
I do have one in mind.
Do tell.
Yes, I need to go to the area where I can actually look at the maps. You can look at them in trials, right?
Yes, that's how I'm going to be getting there, yeah.
Yeah, great. Nichols Prison.
Nichols Prison, alright, that's on Lawson, I believe.
Yes, it is Lawson.
There it is, Nichols Prison. Alright, let's go to Nichols. So, this game has the trials mode, which is little single-player trials, time trials, kill a number of enemies in a period of time, do a race. We're not going to go into those today. They're not particularly interesting or compelling. They're completely optional and not worth doing. So we're going to go into that because the quality of the game is not lessened by their presence, but it's also not improved. So yeah. It's not relevant to what we're trying to get across today. Yeah, exactly. They're just there. They exist. It's completely optional and pointless. Doing them doesn't make the game better. Not doing them doesn't make it worse. So, okay, here we are at Nichols Prison. Ignore the UI elements there for a minute. So, this is a prison, as makes sense, and the prison has a lot going on with it. And I'm assuming you want me to go in this room up here, Max.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna go in here.
You read my mind.
Yeah, I kind of figured what you were going for. So, as I mentioned earlier, there's lots of little things, kind of hints and stuff around. So, you know, we've got this guy here. This dude was presumably at one point a zombie. He's looking pretty messed up. But he's no longer long for this world. He is dead completely. He's like, you know, not even undead. So he just, you know, he went there and he sat down, and that's his final resting place. He won't get disturbed for a long time, likely, because of how messed up things are. And so we're kind of seeing little bits of that. Hey, look at this gate. It's been blown off its hinges. Was this pushed off by zombies? Were people in a panic? Did this just come off because of rust? You know, like little details in the environment that are really nice. And so let's climb up here. Let's climb these stairs and see what we've got going on up in this room here. So we can see here, this is a storage room in cell block B. Go in and we can see just lots of boxes in storage. We can see blood on these curtains here that do move, which is very nice. We got people on these benches who look like they didn't get infected, and like this dude was a prisoner and he died here cold and alone, just kind of waiting for death to come. You know, he's in a prison which is kind of a fortress in a way, but these people didn't have happy endings. They starved to death or even froze at night.
Mm-hmm.
Just go through here.
Hell, knowing that we're in Louisiana, it could have been the heat.
Could have been the heat, yeah.
The brick building could have acted like an oven.
God, yeah. Jeez, this would have been brutal.
Yeah.
The humidity and everything.
Mm-hmm.
No, thank you. Oh, they changed this, haven't they? Yeah. And so, one thing I want to talk about while we're going through here is this is designed like an actual building. This is designed in a way that makes sense. In a lot of games, buildings are designed for their purpose, which is to be cover and to be, interesting things to maneuver around in a map. They are to provide flavor and structure to a map. They're there for gameplay purposes first and foremost. And so a lot of the time, buildings don't make sense in video games. They, a house you can look at a house and go, wait, where's the bathroom? Why is there no kitchen? What's why is this living room the entire ground floor? Why is there no bedroom in this building? Like things like that don't make sense. Things that don't look like a house, but is trying to be passed off as a house, or just a building, and you're like, what's the purpose of this building? And you've got no idea. This is a prison. This is designed like a prison. It has cells, which we haven't really gone into, but this has cells. This has a warden's area. It's got a storage room over there. Hey, look, this is the warden's office. Here's his desk, and presumably the desk of someone else in admin, his assistant perhaps. Here's drawers and cabinets and books, and he's got a photo of a rose, which isn't anything else. Here's his coat. He's got a wanted poster on the wall for FS Nebraska Willie. He's got over here, which is presumably the inmates in different cells. Like this is designed for function. This is designed not only to be something for gameplay, but something that was lived in, something that was used. And that is something that a lot of games really fall short on, because everything is designed from the top down with gameplay in mind. But here they took the time to go, well, hang on, okay, we can still make these good for gameplay while making them make sense, while making them fit the world. And this prison does that incredibly well. I like that. I mean, okay, I don't know if this was actually a thing, these gibbets in the middle of a prison. I feel like
ones that are like hanging from the ceilings.
Gibbets are a thing, but to put it in like the middle of a building and a like late 19th century, I'm not sure that these. Maybe this is like the equivalent of what's the word? Solitary confinement or something. But like
that's what I was thinking, especially because one of them does have a tarp over it.
It
and
does.
I think it even still has a person in it, right?
It does. Yes.
Yep, that seems like it would be some form of solitary confinement.
That's really messed up.
Maybe even like sensory deprivation. You could think of it too.
Yeah. So like, okay, even if this wasn't a real thing, you can see what they're going for here within the world and the lore. It's like a really fucked up kind of thing. This makes sense. At least from a stylistic point, it makes sense and does provide a little bit of storytelling about what kind of operation was being ran here. But hey, look, here's a room that's really interesting. Executions. Warning, no inmates allowed beyond this sign. Do not enter until instructed by officer. And so we come in, and okay.
Whoa, were you allowed to go in there?
Oh shit, there wasn't an officer. Just don't tell anyone.
Okay.
We've got some chairs where people would have been chained up. What function do you think these served?
Those?
Yeah. Do you think people were like? Do you think inmates were waiting here for like their execution, perhaps? Like this
It
is
might
their
have
waiting
been
area.
inmates waiting.
There's a toilet here in
maybe.
case they need to go crap.
Yeah, that would be my only guess.
Yeah.
As for the chalk, maybe it's like, or the chalkboards, it's like.
Write their name, put an arrow. Time of execution. I don't know.
I imagine the way you would want to do it is a name. That way people know where they're meant to sit.
Sure.
Or maybe like seat 1, seat 2.
Yeah, like I guess the order could matter. If someone's got their execution scheduled for a particular time, you wouldn't want someone going early.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know. It's the end of someone's life. I presume that it's
It's important to someone.
And then, well, here's the moneymaker.
Yeah.
There she is. A rather poor condition United States flag in the background there, and a smaller one over there. A little lantern next to the mechanism here. And a rather grisly execution device. Although it's been cleaned. There's not any scorch marks in the skull cap there, so
Probably need to clean it between every run.
You know what? 1895 Louisiana. I'm not sure they would have.
Maybe it didn't get as dirty as we might think.
And here's people in the splash zone, because they might not get dirty, but you better believe that dude's gonna spit and piss. So like this is the SeaWorld like Shamu splash zone kind of area.
Yeah,
Christ.
bring your kids. They can hold up a sign.
It's look again, 19th century America. I'm sure it was all the rage.
Yeah, honestly.
And again, someone died here right next to the lever, chained up, just kind of waiting for the end to come. What do we got over here? We got some like liniment or a bottle.
Look at their
of
outfit
something.
one more time. Were they an inmate?
They're chained up, which suggests they were. I think this is probably an inmate's uniform. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know what America like in the UK. I could tell you what a British inmate's uniform would look like at this time. It'd be grey with black broadhead arrows drawn on it. But I like American ones. I don't know if there's like standardization across all the states and all that kind of stuff, right? Like, I don't know. So maybe
it's just surprising because the stripes. If this is an inmate,
this is a linen shirt of some kind.
yeah. If it's an inmate, it's going the wrong way.
Oh, the horizontal normally.
Yeah. Or that's not an inmate, and they got chained there after the fact.
Oh god, that's even worse.
Uh-huh.
I think it is probably an inmate, and maybe the inmates here just get issued trousers and shirts, you know? Like, not the stripes might not even be like the kind of stereotypical stripes that we think of when we think of prisons. It could just be, you know, there for...
It could be whatever you wore when you walked in.
Potentially, or like I said, I think all the other inmates I've seen here have had shirts on. Well, that's like... Yeah, maybe. Because, yeah, here's, I believe, the same model, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can see it. It's just a dude in a striped shirt. Let's go down a level. And look, we have the cells here. This is a lavatory. Oh, there's a leak. There's still water coming through this.
Oh, man.
Some soap on the floor.
That's going to be an expensive water bill.
Very pretty soap, actually. Was that woodlight soap? Moonlight soap.
Huh.
Oh, the moon is actually a common theme in this game as well.
It is.
And God, you know, these all have the numbers on them. We could actually go back to the warden's office and like say, oh, this is this is the name of the person who was here. We can put names to any bodies we find in these.
Jeez.
Here's the food cart. Like, here's where their food was delivered. Like, this is a detail that wasn't necessary, but they put it in because it adds flavor. It adds storytelling. It's a part of this thing. And sure, when you're running around and there's bullets flying and everything like that, you may not look at these things, but sometimes you just look at it and you appreciate it. And it's set dressing. You know, in a movie, you're not looking at the wallpaper in someone's house, but if that wallpaper wasn't there, you'd notice it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the same goes here. Like, you know, little things like the food carts and stuff. Okay, we're not thinking about these when we're playing, but like, I think eventually, if those weren't there, you might think to yourself, wait, hang on, how are these guys getting food? You know?
Yeah, it's the whole, if it's there, it may never go noticed. If it's not there, you will notice that it's not there.
Yeah, and this this is also not necessarily storytelling, but it's just nice visual design. Is this area here? You have like this prison in general is fairly poorly lit, and then you come over here. The roof has caved in, so sunlight is coming in, and it's bathing. Like there's a little bit of grass has grown here, and there's a piano, and it's just like this is like the one like little glimmer of like light in here, right? This is like the little bit of like happiness and joy that could be here. Is this piano probably made someone quite happy at some point, and like it's you know, it's nice visual sort of metaphor, I guess, right? Like the light coming in this otherwise very dark, dreary, and depressing place.
I mean, if you were to ignore the prison part of it, well, shoot, that's a player piano with some grass and some sunlight. That is a nice look right there.
For sure.
I will say a majority, I think every piano, I know there's probably a few broken ones around, but a lot of the pianos in the game are actually player pianos.
They are,
and if you interact with it, you turn it on to play the music.
Well, let's demonstrate that. Let's see. So I do know that the music isn't random. Every piano has a specific piece of music it plays.
Okay.
So let's this is a Wagner and Son piano. As you can see, the keys don't really match up with the music. Oh, there we go. So this is a Rise Up Dead Man, I think, but this is like a ragtime version of that song. So as I said earlier, there is a band that makes all the music. It's an in-house band in Crytek called the Port Sulphur Band, and they do all the music for this game, and it's really good. It's very unique, and it fits the theme of this game well. And the pianos, all the music on the pianos is Port Sulphur Band music, though in this case it's like a ragtime spin on on what's I guess kind of the theme of the game, like kind of the theme song, Rise Up Dead Man.
Yeah.
It's nice, little things like this, and then you can destroy it and stop it. But you can play that in the middle of a fight, and some people do, sometimes just for fun, sometimes to like cover the sound of footsteps and stuff.
There is real tactical
There
advantages
is.
to using it sometimes in a fight, and other times it is just very silly because you know people are there, and that's how you're telling them we know you're there.
Yeah. So going on further with the storytelling here. Here we have a pile of those gibbets. And there's a lot of bodies around them. A lot of bodies. All these lumps in the ground are bodies. These are human beings that we just walk over when we play this game. Isn't that a horrible thought?
Not a comforting one, I'll say that.
No, and they're all very much centered around these gibbets. They're in the middle of the courtyard, and there's like this guy was clearly infected and stuff like that. So it's possible that at some point during like this event, these gibbets were used for transporting the infected. Right? It could, we can see that they've got this honeycomb sort of wasp's nest material all over them. Like something was in here. Like the insects, the bugs, the wasps that like spread this plague. They were here in some large part, in some large parts. And so again, we're looking at this and it's like, wow, what function did all this serve? And they've just been piled up here, presumably because there was zombies in them or something dangerous in there that they didn't want near, so they just put it all in one place.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, it's not in the building, it's outside in the courtyard, and it's covered in a tarp again. Like, you know, what's the reasoning behind this? It's interesting, like the kind of questions it poses. We got another storage room here. What was stored in
Is
here?
there
I guess
two storage
gibbets.
rooms out there?
Yeah, so this one just has gibbets in it. And this one is also a storage room. And it's got a shelf in it. It's got some more shelves. Whatever was being stored in here it's gone. It's been ransacked. And again, more of this wasp's nest material kind of lying around everywhere. Let's see, what else
One
we
thing
got?
that's hard to notice sometimes in that material is you will just see bodies in there.
Yes.
In both storage rooms, there was a body.
Oh yeah, 100%. You get desensitized to there just being dead bodies everywhere in this game, because they're like, again, I don't think right now, unless I like look up, I cannot look in a direction without seeing a body, right? Like, they're everywhere. They are everywhere.
You could Blair Witch and look into a wall, then you wouldn't see any dead bodies.
Yeah. And so
That
here
would
we
be
can
about
see.
your only option.
So here we can see like a bunch of supplies that were like probably destined for use at some point. Like, hey, we've got a post office over here. Look, an actual post office. This is a thing that a prison would have, so that people can get their mail. And like, yeah, they put the sign here: no inmates beyond this point. They put effort into this, and so you can see all the pigeonholes here for all the posts and stuff. And then again, presumably these are big sacks of post. Yes, it's there, U.S. mail. And so these sacks, they piled up. These are full. These aren't empty sacks. And so a bunch of people got their mail and it never got delivered. Or those people passed away before it could be delivered. It's a dark thought. Like, you know, every single letter that's in here, right? You know, again, in the lore of the game, in the conceit of this, is these are all destined for someone. Someone put effort into writing these letters or putting together these parcels with care, and they never reached their destination for one reason or another, because that person, their loved one, died, or because things went to hell here and just things got piled up and post became no longer a priority. It would arrive, they couldn't stop that happening, but they didn't care enough to distribute it because people were dying, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting, I like it. This is just one compound. I need to make that. We've spent a little while on this, and this is just a single compound. We've got like target dummies that have been set up for training. So I guess it'd be important actually if again,
If you're in the
hordes of
outdoor
undead.
area, this would be where the guards would be. This wouldn't be where inmates are necessarily.
Yes, correct. Like, what's this building here
So-
actually? This is the refectory. So this is oh, inmates. A refectory is where people eat. So actually, yeah, no. I guess the inmates were served in their cells, and then this would be where the staff would eat. So you can see meals have been left to rot on the table. Plates are still out, just in place. Drinks, oh no, this isn't a drink, this is cutlery, some spoons. Like, yeah, people were here. There's a little, what's the word? A stove here. It's like keep people warm.
A little wood fire stove.
Yeah, a gramophone here for music. And then we've got these pots here. Can I get up and have a look in this? So this would have been... Oh, this is for a boil. This is Louisiana, of course.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, you know, this is where people would make their lovely Cajun cuisine. Like, you know...
Good trip boil.
Yeah, good shrimp boil.
Yeah.
And these, like, giant pressure cookers. That's really cool. And, like, yeah, again, like, little things. This didn't need to be here. They didn't need to make a refectory. They didn't need to put the effort in, but they did. And it provides flavor. It makes it feel real, more believable, which I do notice these things in gameplay, and I know other people do as well. And again, we've talked about just bits of visual storytelling. All of that we just talked about, and I wasn't even fully extensive. There's this entire area over here. That's just one compound, right?
Mm-hmm.
All of that is one compound. That is what this game does incredibly well. And again, because it's a PvP game, because it's multiplayer, because not like more bodies are just running over, because of the nature of this game, it's easy to miss. You know, people do notice it, but a lot of it is easy to miss. All those bodies in the courtyard, I have fought and moved around this entire compound dozens upon dozens of times. I have lost count, like, long ago, of the number of times I've been in this compound. I had not noticed that the entire floor of the courtyard was just bodies. Like, yeah. I had never looked that close, but it's there, and when you notice it, it's like, oh, holy shit. It really paints a picture about the kind of world we're in, about the kind of situation this is. This is a post-apocalypse. This is a real fucking post-apocalypse. Like, there's still fresh-ish bodies lying around. This is recent. This didn't happen years and years ago. This happened months ago, weeks ago even. Like, this is so incredibly recent. Like, hey, okay, we're in Windy.
You even see that too, like where the bodies can be around for different amounts of time. You look at some of the bodies that were inside of the building, right?
Yeah.
Like protected from some of the elements. They obviously they are very dead. They
Yes.
look very dead.
Yes.
Compare that to the bodies that are outside. They've literally began to sink themselves into the mud and the dirt.
Absolutely. They may have, like, even in the panic, they may have been trampled, you know?
Oh, I don't want to think about that.
Yeah, right? So here we are at some stables. This is Windy Run. This is I presume a stud farm or something along those lines, where it produces, like, racing horses, maybe. And so this is where horses live. This is where someone's livelihood was. Okay, one thing that doesn't really make sense in the grand scheme of things is, like, these noisemakers. I can understand, like, oh, okay, it's like, you know, if a zombie comes in, I can hear it, right? But they're placed in places where you wouldn't actually put them if you were, like, trying to detect if people were breaking in. But that's you know, again, some things do have to be given up for gameplay elements. Okay, so here's, like, this is a small detail, but it's a real one. So you've got this door here, and you've got these planks. This was a wall at some point. This was a separator. Like, this was a stable where a horse was. This was another stable where a horse would be. And this wall has just been busted open.
Oh, yeah.
Now, did a horse do this? Like, that was spooked, just wanted to get the fuck out, that was panicking? Did a monster do this? Did a meathead do this, right? Did people do this? It's just a quick way to, like, get the fucking horse out this door, you know? Like,
Was
maybe...
there an explosion?
Was there an explosion, you know? Like, you can always ask yourself questions, and, oh man, do any of these actually have it? I don't think so. That's a shame. Sometimes these, like, lockers over here, not these specific ones here, but, like, other lockers like these can just have a person kind of hiding in them, like, curled up in the corner.
Oh, I've seen those.
Yeah, it's really dark. Come upstairs and, like, this is where the hay was stored. This is a huge fire hazard with these lanterns. Hay sets on fire spontaneously because bacteria inside generate heat, and on a dry day, that can cause a fire. These lanterns, like, I mean, I'm gonna demonstrate. Like, these things are not, they're not up to code. These can cause issues. This is ill-advised. What we're really learning here is workplace safety and how these people deserve to die.
Oh yeah? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
OSHA did not have a hand in this whatsoever.
And so we've got this interesting little detail here, which is the bridge coming from the main boss layer, like, out onto this here. And you can imagine this, right? Let's picture it. There's a big field over there, right? And what's over in that direction? Well, it's Arden Parish. That's a town, right? That's where people lived. And so you could totally imagine that the people who worked at this ranch, because there's a house over there, you know, that looks like it could house 5 or 6 people, you know, maybe the owner and a couple of workers, right? You can totally imagine that, like, the bell rings at Arden Parish, right? On top, you can't see it, but there's a bell tower there. The bell rings, the undead are here. They need to quickly mount a defense. They grab their guns and they come out onto this roof, crouch, and then start shooting at them as they come, right? Like, you can see a reason why they would put that bridge there, because it provides them a way out onto here, but also a way to retreat further in if things go wrong. It's like, in gameplay, this serves a real function. This is an extra entrance and an extra exit to this boss layer. It makes defense harder, but, like, from a storytelling perspective, from, like, an in-universe kind of conceit perspective, it makes sense to an extent. It's not the biggest thing, but you can justify it. You can look at it and go, okay, yeah, I can see what they were going for with that. Like, here we have, like, a little workshop. We've got, like, I guess it's kind of like a vice. We've got a bucket. We've got some scales here. What's this? What is that? Is that like a telegraph? So it's like someone's just kind of tinkering in here. There's like a huge windmill blade and stuff. Like, you know, someone tinkered away in here. This is like the equivalent of their garage. And there's a wheel there from a wagon. Is it from this wagon? Let's just see. There's all the wheels on here. Maybe not from this wagon, but it's a spare wheel.
Everyone needs a spare wheel.
Everyone needs a spare wheel. I was hoping to see if there was like a farrier's station or a tack kind of place, but I'm not seeing one. So we've got more stables here. I think yeah. If I'm thinking of this from like a practical thing, there's like, if they had a farrier, they weren't working here. They were coming in from like out of town or whatever to do their work. And I imagine back in these days, you'd probably want your farrier to be one of your employees rather than someone that you bring in.
That makes much more sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I know these days farriers usually are independent and they just kind of move around and do shoes when they need. But I feel like back in the 19th century when horses were the primary mode of transport, I'd expect more. So maybe, yeah, there you go. There's a flaw in the design here. They haven't got like a little place for the farrier to work. But hey, let's look at a house. Let's look at a house, because I actually feel like I was talking earlier about how things feel like they're designed well. Maybe the house isn't.
It also might not be a house necessarily.
It's got like a dining table.
An office building.
It could. And maybe the people lived in Arden Parish. It is just a stone's throw away.
Yeah.
There's some mattresses up here, so this does suggest there's a couple of beds. So this suggests that a few people did sleep in here.
Okay.
So you got some beds. There's like a little cabinet at the end of the bed with like, I don't know, some tins of stuff. There's like some liniment there or whatever. Like a suitcase of sorts, and then another one of the same kind over there. We got some nice got a piano up here. Some lovely balconies with actually not a bad view. I mean, you're looking at the prison, so yeah, maybe not the best view, but not the worst thing. Some cornfields out there. For like, I guess these people had like a side hustle growing corn, or maybe that's part of Hemlock. I'm not sure. Some rugs, like people are drying their clothes just like hung up. Another coat, coat rack by the door makes sense. Lack of chairs is what's getting me. But again, like, this could have also, in the heat of things, been repurposed, right? Because, like, if we look in this room here, we've got we've got boxes piled up. Like, presumably these were storing things at one point or other, maybe weapon parts or weapons or something like that. You've got this area here, which probably would have been the kitchen at some point, which is, like, completely torn apart. One thing I am noticing is no bathroom here. Where's the outhouse? That's the question we need to ask. Where did these people dump? I need to know.
That is the question that, really lives on.
I think, wow, okay. So something I praise this game for is, because again, everything does feel like it's designed for purpose, is every compound, and I mean pretty much every compound, has outhouses. Because people gotta let loose, People gotta, like, murder a toilet every now and then. And actually, now that I'm looking, I think this compound doesn't have a single outhouse. That's interesting. That's actually an area where this game obviously isn't completely perfect in this area. I still think it's very good, but I do think that this does demonstrate. Actually, wait. Are they behind this building? So we got a dog kennel here, which is serves a gameplay purpose. Nope, no outhouses back there. So if these people wanted to go to the toilet, they'd have to go over here to Arden Parish.
Oof.
Oof,
To be fair, if this was a place where you were just like, you know, trick training horses,
yeah.
it might not need an outhouse. That seems like...
I mean, I've worked an 8-hour day. It's very rare that I go a full work day and not need the toilet at some point. Granted, I could probably just use the grass for most of that, but like sometimes you gotta do number 2, you know? Who knows when your fiber's gonna sneak up on you? It comes for us all.
Oh yeah.
Especially if you've had too many coffees. So here's this is the last example I gave. This is Arden Parish. This is a town, and it's got a central town hall here. This is the parish centre, I suppose, of sorts, and it's got a market here. You know, this is how people traded. This is how people got their goods. We've got some, admittedly now mouldy loaves of bread. What have we got over here? We've got a fish of some kind. Uncertain what kind of fish that is. We've got fish, trout.
It probably doesn't
presumably.
help that it's been sitting out for a while.
It doesn't help, but like this is catfish. And then we go over here. We've got some more like small fish, some more cuts of like catfish or something. We've got trout, I think, or salmon. Wait, that's not salmon, but some kind of small-ish fish. We're going on here, and here we've got like bottles of stuff. So this could be alcohol, it could be medicine. Even more stuff back here, like more bottles. Like, this place, you can kind of see this place has a theme. It was selling certain things. Even the noise trap they've got here is bottles, so it's on theme. We've got more crates of bottles out here. Like, a little bit of thought. What's in here? Slaughterhouse and processing. So these barrels are from the slaughterhouse. Interesting.
Is there a slaughterhouse on this map?
So there's Salter's Pork, which is a pig farm. No, there's no slaughterhouse on this map. Closest is Salter's Pork, which is a pig farm. But I don't believe it's an abattoir. And so you've got some chickens in a cage here, makes sense. Some more smaller catfish. More chickens. Okay, there's lots of meat here. We've got some skinned groundhogs? They don't look like... Are they rabbits? They don't look like rabbits. They might be rabbits.
They look like cats, so yeah, they're rabbits.
Okay. So yeah, you got some skinned rabbits.
It's weird that that's the comparison, but...
No, I get it. I think these bottles aren't amazing. I've seen skinned rabbits before, but yeah. And then we've got some these are pig haunches here, some pig legs, stuff like that. Yeah, more rabbits.
Yeah.
So this is just a marketplace, but it's well designed in a way that makes sense. I mean, the pile of bread over here maybe less so, and this poor dude that died he's a zombie. Screw him. And then you've got this mannequin here, which the mannequin's just there to be weird, I think. This isn't a clothes store. There's some grain here. Maybe he's for advertising. Maybe he holds a sign normally.
Honestly, I would see it.
Yeah. I like it. I like taking a look. Yeah, scales are very important for selling. Holy shit! Yeah. And then we've got sacks of what are these? William and Taylor dried Louisiana grains. So this is gonna be flour and wheat and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a little look inside the town hall. Let's go through the main door.
Considering the area, it's probably corn.
Could be, yeah. Corn is a grain. I always forget that. Okay, so this is the parish center, the town center. The town hall, and so we've got we got a notice board out here. We've got some wanted posters. We got Seven Sisters, a grand festival in Seven Sisters Estate, the Troubadours Company. That's interesting. I wonder if this was put here before the new map was put on, because Seven Sisters Estate is a compound on the latest map, DeSalle.
Oh yeah.
Troubadours Company. Thursday, June 20th, one night only. The Troubadours Company are coming to DeSalle. Oh, they named it. Okay, so this is probably as part of the the campaign for when they were doing the new map. They're putting these little details in there. This was actually they did do this actually to help. What's the word? Spoiler the new map. Tease the new map. That's the word.
Tease it.
Yeah. Actors and actresses from overseas are coming to Dessau to perform the most famous plays of the past centuries. Don't miss the grand spectacle. Buddy and the Golden Band, Friday, June 21st, one night only, an unforgettable jazz concert. New tunes born in New Orleans, or New Orleans, I don't know how to pronounce it, with characteristics never heard before will be performed by Buddy and the Golden Band in this exceptional concert to raise your spirits. Don't miss it if you don't want to sound like an old-timer amongst friends and family. Admittance 15 cents.
That's so good.
I love it. Fletcher Brothers, Saturday, June 22nd and Sunday, June 23rd. A breathtaking spectacle performed by the brave archers of Fletcher Brothers. Fletcher Brothers will leave you in awe with their unmatched talent. Spectators courageous enough to participate in the competition to take place after the spectacle will be rewarded handsomely. Not to mention the chance to impress your family and neighbors. Admittance 15 cents, no admittance fee for children. So I wonder how much, if any of this, is visible at Seven Sisters. One thing about Seven Sisters that I do know is it is set up for some kind of event. There's the piano and all the music stuff at the gazebo. There's a corn maze that's been set up. Like there's little hints that something was going on there. Like, you know, some kind of occasion. So maybe that's what this is advertising. What's that? Dear residents of Dessau. Some more Dessau stuff, actually. Is this all Dessau stuff? Doc Red Martins. Yeah, this has been updated for, like, the Dessau release. Because I know that this was a new thing as well.
Okay.
Oh, man, I wonder if I can read this. To all or any of our patrons, it is with great regret that we inform you the fiddler who kept our... I can't read that. Something in dark times on the darkest of days has... Is this English? Something murdered mid-performance. Yeah, I know, but something murdered mid-performance. Although we still feel the something of his loss, we are delighted... Oh, the pain of his loss. We are delighted to announce that a new fiddler will perform in... What does that say? Lewis? Something on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays.
Lewis's Saloon?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it would be the saloon in Lower Dessau. Oh. May sorrow's debt be light on me, and may he fiddle. Oh,
I think it's not me.
May he find his place in the heavens above. I can't quite read the name. God, that was a nightmare. Someone fucking wrote that, probably with their hand. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Okay, town hall. We've got paintings. Like, okay, here's like Lawson Station. Makes sense. It's probably a local like point of pride. We've got a clock. Clocks are important. A place for people to hang their hats and coats. Some much nicer lights here that have been busted. And we got the front desk here, so there would be like a receptionist to someone like here, writing and doing their stuff. Loads of drawers. This is accurate. I've been behind many an administration desk. This is all correct. So yeah, makes sense. And then like you can come in and what else we got in here? So we got a piano. Sure. We got a picture of a chicken. Maybe this is someone's prized pet.
It is the best chicken.
It's a good chicken. They're good chickens, Brunt. We got
local
like
celebrity.
Yeah, sure. We got like a little meeting area here. It's like a meeting room. Again, like a bookcase that would have had books on it and stuff like that. An American flag that has been torn from the wall, now in tatters. Let's go upstairs. What do we got upstairs? So this would have been admin. We've got like desks. We've got chalkboards. A picture of some bugs on the walls. Someone obviously was into their entomology, I suppose. And like, yeah, you can see that people probably worked up here, and those people liked Robert Zemeckis films, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't? And over here, I don't know quite what's going on here. I think this is more time travel stuff, but this is also just like people... I think this is the devs just like writing on stuff that they thought interesting. So you got this cat here. These are just nice little details. This isn't necessarily like storytelling or like design necessarily. This is just like someone having fun, and there's a lot of that in this game. Ultimately, the devs did have fun. I think, you know, at least the people doing like the visual design here, they put a lot of fun things in, lots of references and stuff. I don't know where there are any, but if some of these photos, I don't know if any of them are in this building, but some of the photos in this game have hidden details in them. And if you look at them in Darksight, you can see like it's usually like the faces of the devs and stuff like that have been hidden. So there's like, you know, little details. They put love into this, and they really wanted to, like, you know, just have a little bit of fun with it, and that's nice. It's always a positive thing in any game, I feel, is when you can tell that it's a bit of a labor of love, and the devs want to like throw that around. One of my favorite examples of this is, have you ever played the Max Payne games?
No.
Okay, so the original Max Payne they made an interesting choice when it came to animation, and that choice was not to do it. All the cutscenes in that game are done in like a visual novel style. Okay. And it's interesting. They did that because the 3D models at the time, this was 2001, and the game would have obviously been developed over the course of a couple of years. The 3D models are not great for like animation and stuff like that. They don't have moving mouths and stuff like that. It's very difficult to do that and make it look good at the time. Other games that did it at the time with moving mouths were like Half-Life and Deus Ex, and those were bigger budget games, and they still didn't look good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as far as like the animation with like the mouth flaps and stuff like that, didn't really make any sense. And so they decided to go a different route with both their 3D models and their cutscenes. So for the 3D models are all digitized photos of real people as the textures for all the models. Max Payne famously being modeled on, and his texture is Sam Lake, who is the lead writer for the game. Sam Lake is now the creative director at Remedy, so he's still working there and doing it all. And so Max Payne, the original game, is Sam Lake. It's just him. It just looks like the dude in real life. And the same goes for all the other models in the game. All the other people in that game, all the enemies and NPCs and stuff like that, are developers, or the developers' families. They just took their photos and made them like pose and do like different facial expressions and stuff like that, and then they digitized those into textures for the models.
Wow.
And the cutscenes, they're all visual novel style, but they're not drawn. They're actually photographs that they've then stylized. So ooh. It's Max Payne is Sam Lake doing all the acting. The voice acting is someone else, but the physical acting is Sam Lake. The main bad guy in that film is Sam Lake's mother. And again, other characters are played by other devs, and that's just really fun. And then in Max Payne 2, they were making that game for Rockstar, and Rockstar were like, here's a bunch more money because holy shit, Max Payne was a great game. So they now had budget. So the cutscenes, they still did the visual novel style stuff, but they also the cutscenes in that game, they did a lot more like traditional animation and just normal video game cutscenes. And they didn't need to use the developers as like stand-ins for like all the characters, right? They didn't need to use Sam Lake to make Max Payne. They did actually just make an actual texture for Max Payne now, so he's his own thing. So well, the devs still wanted to put themselves in the game, so strewn throughout Max Payne 2, there are televisions, and on all the televisions, they all have episodes of shows of episodes of fictional shows, right? There's Lords and Ladies. There's I forget what it's called. There was a Twin Peaks ripoff type thing. There's Captain Baseball Bat Boy, which is a cartoon. I believe there's one or two others I don't remember. Invitation to Love. No, wait, that is Twin Peaks. But there's one or two, and in all of those televisions, the shows are acted out by the developers.
Oh my.
Which I love. I love that. I love when developers put themselves into games, and they've done that a little bit here. Again, much subtler in this game. It's literally if you look at certain photos in Darksight, but like that's what they've done here, and I really like it. Okay, I think we've done enough on like visual storytelling and like design and stuff like that. I think I've got my point across. The visual storytelling in all these compounds is very good. They do a good job of like putting down situations that make you ask questions. The things that are here are set up in such a way that they do tell a story about what happened here. This is Salter's pork. This was, this was a pig farm. There are horse carcasses strewn about. There are pig carcasses strewn about. These pigs did not make it to slaughter. They died either of natural causes or presumably died because of like the infection has spread. So their corpses just got piled up in corners away from everything, right? Like that's the thought has been put into this. They didn't need to do all this, but it's really good. And that's just the broad strokes. There's lots of fine details that I've gone over a million times. I could do this with every compound and we'd be here for hours and hours and hours. I feel like I've made my point on this particular section. But I do like it. So that's why for me storytelling is such a mixed bag in this game, because the story, the lore, the actual stuff that is there is all very good, but the delivery is questionable. And unfortunately, I do think it is just a downfall of, or an issue with the genre at large, rather than it being like something that Hunt is specifically doing wrong. I think it's just the nature of things, and it's a shame because they've clearly put a lot of work here into developing a really interesting world, very interesting lore.
I think it comes down to, like, it is 100% the medium they're using, the kind of game it is.
Yes.
You have to get to a point where you go, we want the players to have the option to see the stuff. But that's kind of where your point is coming from, is that it's entirely an option. There's not like it's not integrated in any way as
exactly
right now.
And it's a shame because video games are a brilliant medium for storytelling, because they can make you as an individual a part of the story, and this game is not able to leverage that properly. And that's a genuine shame, because when I'm playing Hunt, I don't feel like I'm actually a part of the story. I don't really feel like I'm a part of this world. I feel like a tourist in it, I don't feel like I don't feel like I'm doing anything to further the story or anything like that. Like, even in something like World of Warcraft, which does a good job of tying a story in, I do feel like I'm a part of it, right? I do feel like I am actually an element of that world. In this, while I am, in theory, a member of the American Hunters Association, and, all the other players are, and this is all a hunt that is going on right now, I don't really feel like I'm a part of that. I feel like I feel like exactly what I am, which is a player playing a semi-competitive shooter, and
I think
that's a shame, I guess.
Yeah, I think there's a way that they can fix that. It's so how recently, for those who don't know, they added another thing to the game's store option called the Black Market. And it's effectively a way for you to get discounts on random items. There is a premium currency in the game called Blood Bonds, and you can earn them in-game, albeit really slow, and they can let you entirely unlock cosmetic stuff. There's nothing mechanical about getting a gun that looks a little shinier than another one, of course. I think it's a shame that it ended up being used for this, because literally the names of them are confiscated property, blessings of the night, back alley deals, and they're not actually telling a story with any of those.
No. Like, these characters, it's worth noting, do have backstory to them as well. But that backstory is written on the Steam page for the DLC. Just a quick note, Burrito, I do apologize. We're kind of not getting super involved with the chat, just so we don't break our train of conscious here. We just kind of want to keep things going, because we're kind of doing a narrative here, like a back and forth about trying to be critical about the game and sort of talk about what it does well and what it doesn't, and kind of pick it apart. So that's why we're not being super on the ball with chat right now. But we see you, don't worry. Anyway, sorry, carry on, Max.
No worries. I love you, Burrito. But so how they added more recently, like summons and quest lines, and they have Mr. Cherry as like you've earned XP throughout the day, so here's this.
Yeah.
All of these, I feel like, can be tied to a bigger story at large that they might want to be telling,
Yeah.
being the world itself.
Right.
Oh, hey, this quest line, maybe it could be a weird mix where it's like, or for the summons, right? Imagine when you get a summons, you get to pick, similar to the black market. It's, here is someone that you can pick to get certain quests, basically get certain summons throughout the week. What are the missions? Well, they're tied to the person. This one's more about killing hunters. This one's more about killing AI. This one's more about, I don't know, something else, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think
No,
there's
I
avenues, but they're
absolutely
not
understand.
the
Yeah.
best.
It's there's flavor here, but it's not being applied perhaps as evenly as it should.
Mhm.
It's things like the black market and the dark tribute and stuff like that could absolutely have even just a bit of a write-up associated with them, or just like a little more like flavor and story kind of like that's presented to you as the player to kind of drag you further into this lore and get you more interested, and it just isn't there. They haven't done that with these. There's like little tiny bits of flavor text, but we're talking like 3 or 4 words at a time, right?
Yeah.
Which is a shame. But to further on that, again, with the DLC and stuff like that, like if I go to the skins of these weapons, the UI is not great for it anymore. They did change this, but like there is lore here. So like for this Vetterli Winter Rose, I'll read out the lore because it's like half a paragraph. A white rose blooming in winter was once thought to be an omen of death. In the case of this rose engraved Vetterli, that omen rings true with every shot. Though the sight of its metallic bloom would be an omen of impending death in any season. It's like, little bits of flavor text for them. Some of these are related to specific people. Here's the Mesa updraft. not Mesa updraft. Misa, read this flavor text now. Accompanying the archaeologist on her desert treks, this Vetterli 71 Deadeye was most at home, perched on the rock face of a mesa, scanning the scrub plains for hostiles and eliminating them. So there's like a little bit there. So this is the archaeologist weapon, and this is what she used and stuff like that. There's little bits that you can see it's there. It's tiny, it's small, it's 2 sentences, but it's there. There is actual thought and storytelling that's gone into this. It's just not. Oops, no, not redeeming codes. It's just not there. Like, here's the Dark Tribute. This is really cool. This is involved. Oh my god. Okay, there is actually a paragraph of text here, but it's mostly just explaining what it is. But like, so I wish I could show you this, but I don't have enough XP. This is the Dark Tribute. This is where you pay tribute to Mr. Cherry, who is the what's the word? He's the director of the Louisiana branch, I think, of the American Hunters Association. And so if you do this ritual, he will give you a gift. He will present you with a weapon or equipment or money or something like that as thanks, I guess, for taking part. Or actually, part of the lore is doing this generates a weapon. Actually, I think it was in one of the stories. And so there's that. But all we see here are the hunter standing in a circle of candles, and he cuts his hand. There's no actual explanation really of what's going on here. Let's read this. So this is the information, and this is largely explaining gameplay, but like Mr. Orwell Cherry has been conducting tests that he says may help turn the tides of the hunt, but he still needs a special ingredient, blood steeped in the knowledge of the bayou, and then it goes into the so you get a little bit of that, but that's it. There's not like more story to this, and there was a story about doing this, but it was only available during an event. And so if you didn't read the story during that event, it is not accessible anywhere in the game. That's it. So what is this? Why is this actually happening? What are the actual things going on here? Who knows? Because you have to go to the wiki to read it. It's not in game, which is a shame. It's just, again, I need to say this. As much as I'm harping on about like this sort of negative aspect to the storytelling, a reminder: this is just an issue with this genre. It's an issue with how you fit story into multiplayer games rather than an issue with Hunt itself. I'm not blaming the devs here or giving them shit. I'm just pointing out an issue. And Burrito brings up a good point. He says, it sounds like you almost want a Red Dead experience for the world. Not necessarily. I guess what I'm saying is, I think the lore in this game is really interesting, and I wish that lore tied in more with what's actually going on. I wish that lore was presented through gameplay as well. Like, I'm not saying NPCs need to be around. I don't necessarily mean there needs to be someone telling me the story as I play, but even like, so we saw the notice board there earlier, right? And it had like things on like events going on at Seven Sisters and stuff like that. And there was a note there about a fiddler who got murdered in the middle of a performance, and that's interesting. Maybe there could be something on there like the journal notes, right? If we go to the library and talk about, look at here, like here's the meathead, and there's journal notes. Maybe these journal notes could be strewn on a table somewhere, right? Maybe in the prison, someone was doing research, and there's these research notes on a table that you can read. Like, that would be a way of tying in these things a little bit more into the game. It would give you opportunity to read them if you just sat at a boss layer for ages. You know? Like,
a boss layer would be the best place to do that, because you are just sometimes sitting around waiting for someone to show up.
Yeah, I think that there is opportunity. Difficult though it may be to like tell the story a little bit more through the world. Give players the opportunity to actually find the lore just by playing the game, rather than having to go to this little corner of the menu and click on one of these books and read, right? And that's why it's a shame, because what is here is really good. I just wish it was presented in a more palatable and interesting way. Most people aren't compelled to bother with the lore, and I think that's a shame.
Oh yeah.
And I guess, I mean, this whole stream was supposed to be an essay, a loose dialogue about Hunt in general, and about Hunt's gameplay and what makes it unique and stuff like that. But it's turned into, particularly in the second half, into a talk about storytelling and the pitfalls of storytelling in heavily multiplayer focused games, particularly PvP games. Which isn't quite the direction I expected this to go, but I'm not upset with it.
Not at all.
It's interesting.
I think, to round it out,
Yeah.
a way that you might, this is a big might, and I think this is something they said they don't want to do, because as it stands right now, the player base is just too small, right?
Relatively speaking, yeah. Particularly in like places like Oceania and stuff like that, which have quite small player bases.
Yes. Where they've, it had to do with like choosing contracts, because as it stands right now, there is a section in the lobby portion of the menu called contracts, which does nothing.
Yeah, so I guess I'll talk about this because I remember when this was actually a thing. So back in the day, back in the early days of this game, one of the elements of this was before you went on a hunt, you would choose which hunt you wanted to do. So there would be a random, when I played it, there was usually two. There'd be a random one, and then there would be one that would have set bosses at a set time and a set location. So you'd have a random contract, or you could go to, there's only one map at the time, but you could go to this, you go to the map, the weather is going to be this. So let's say it's nighttime, and it's going to have Spider and Butcher on it, right? And so you'd know that, and you would, you'd go, okay, those are conditions that I like, so I'm going to play that. Or I can do the random contract, which gives me bonus bounty, right? And so that's interesting. And you can see that UI element is still there. This map, although it's blurred out, I can actually interact with it. I can zoom in and move around it. Might be hard to see on stream that that's happening, but I can. It's really weird that this is still here. This UI has changed multiple times since they removed contracts from the game, but they've kept this little tab here, even though it isn't used ever. Hasn't been used in 4 years now. Like,
that's about right.
Yeah. So there's like little vestigial parts to this game that don't quite make sense, but I'd hope that they do add this at some point, because it would be nice to be able to choose your bounty again and choose your contract again. And that, again, from a lore perspective, that does fit in more with like what you're doing as well. Like, you're picking up a contract and fulfilling that contract, right?
Yeah. And with it, if you were to reintroduce it, you can leave the random contract as, oh, it's a random contract, get whatever.
For sure.
But then you can have the regular contract. And with it, it's as easy as telling you why the contract was made.
Yes. Oh my god.
why am I going to this why am I going to this map at night to kill the butcher?
Right.
Because the butcher did X, Y, and Z, and I want him dead.
Or yeah. Like, okay, so I mean, okay, it shouldn't tell you where the butcher is, because I was like, oh yeah, the butcher's been tearing up Lock Bay docks. We shouldn't do that because that gives away where it is. But
yeah, but on the map, I mean.
Yeah, for sure. Like, you can have some flavor text there. Like, okay, sure, there'd be a limited number of them, I guess. Players would have read them all after a couple of weeks, maybe. But like, that's something. Yeah, it's more lore. It's there in your face. You do read it as a part of it, and that gives players more opportunity to sort of take in the lore and interact with it directly.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I actually like that as an idea. That's a really good idea.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm full of them sometimes.
Another one, that, because you've made me think of this now, is one thing with hunters is legendary hunters, right? On the legendary hunter screen here, I can click this toggle bio button, and I get a short little write-up of, who this hunter is. So, like, let's just think of an interesting one. Okay, sure.
Okay.
So the kid, Turner Abaddon Jr., was the youngest of 8, a runt with a chip on his shoulder and everything to prove. Quick to pick a fight and just as quick to run off until his skill with dual pistols earned him his place among the hunters. That's a nice little write-up. That's a little bit about him, right? And maybe they could do that for the recruits here. This tier 3 hunter, who is she, right? What's she about? Maybe if you're really clever with it, you could do what Hitman Blood Money did, and you can tie in the weapons into the generated story, and so you could talk about her having a bomb lance,
Yeah.
something like that. And that the technology is there. Hitman Blood Money did that in like 2004, so 2006 maybe, but Hitman Blood Money did it. So if they can do it then, Crytek can do it in Hunt now.
You could do it in like a 3-part thing where it's like it's character model plus outfit they're wearing plus main weapon they have.
Yeah.
And that can generate a little story where it's like the character model has like 30 random names that fit. The outfit tells you about what they did for
They
work,
have
and then
names.
the weapon
That's the
they
thing.
have.
Like this one here, she's called Debbie of Sawyer, right? Like even the name gives you a bit. So she's Debbie or Deborah, and she's from somewhere called Sawyer. That's something, right? So build on that.
Debbie.
Give us that. If you can generate these names, you can generate a story.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy, but like it's again. And I'm also saying that like I know Crytek are up to their eyeballs in work right now. They're developing this. They're developing Crysis 4 as well. So like I can understand that they're busy, but I can also critically look at a game, right, and see areas where they could improve, and that's what I'm trying to do here. I'm not going to be so arrogant as to say what I'm saying here is work that absolutely should be done and is like this needs to be a thing that they do. But I'm trying to give suggestions of what I think could be a viable sort of way of improving the storytelling in this game.
All of these are jumping off points for them to take a team and go, how can we actually do this now?
For sure, if that's the
and
kind
like,
of thing
do
they
something
want.
else with it entirely, potentially.
Absolutely. Which reminds me, I'll do that later. But yeah, so I think the overall conclusion that I want to kind of try and draw into here now is this is a game that I have about 1,000 hours in, and you've got what, like 700-800 hours in max? 900 hours. Bloody hell, you're catching up to me. We've both collectively got a crap ton of hours in this game, and that's because this is a really engaging game. And that comes from various elements, from all the stuff we talked about in the first half of this stream, with the gunplay, the moment-to-moment gameplay, the sort of the way team fights are sort of an inevitability, particularly in duos. All of that tied with the ambiance, the sound design, the visual design, the flavor, the lore. All of these things come together to make this a really compelling and really great game. It has its issues. It is far from perfect. It has bugs. It has network issues. It's got with any multiplayer game, there are going to be shitty players that are going to make your day awful, but overall, Hunt has been a very positive experience, I think, for both of us, and it's a game that we're both going to keep putting time into because there is nothing like it, and it does a lot of things really well, like no other game does, and that's why we like this game.
I couldn't have put it any better myself.
Yeah, Hunt. If you're interested, if you're watching and you haven't purchased this game, give it a go. Watch some videos on it. There's a lot of content creators out there who've made a lot of videos on this. Watch some lore videos. Really kind of get yourself into it. See if it's your kind of thing. The visual style alone was enough to. The reason I bought this game was just the visual style and the flavor. I loved it. The kind of gothic western aesthetic grabbed me right from the start. But the gameplay is absolutely what really kept me going. There is just nothing like it. So it's I don't want to be like overly positive and give this game a fucking tongue bath, but like it's got problems, and those problems bear out in not just the storytelling as we've been talking about here in the second half of this stream, but in the gameplay as well. But the unique nature of the gameplay, the way the gunplay is like nothing in any other game I've played, and the really, 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 really good level design just makes this a very good experience. If it may be messy, it may not be tight, but it is overall a very good experience.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
I think one thing to say with this game, right? 100%. I think this is the best part about the game, is that it is not made for everybody.
For sure, yeah.
Not everybody's going to pick up this game and find that they're in love with it.
Yeah.
But I think that lets them do more of what they want to do with the game. When you have a game that's just trying to fit everybody's needs for people that would want to play it, you have a game that ends up feeling very generic or flavorless. This game is dripping with personality.
It really is. It really is. Absolutely. I couldn't agree with more. That's personality is what this game has in buckets. It really is. And I hope that's something that I managed to demonstrate here as well today, is like that personality, how it, again, particularly how it bears through in like the design. It's lovingly crafted, or at least it feels that way from where I'm sitting. But yeah, I think that is going to do it for us today. This has been, we made it to just about 3 hours, so that 3-hour stream, that's what we intended, so we're getting there now. So, to everyone who came along, thank you very much for watching. It's been a blast. We'll be back same time next week, and we'll be doing, I believe, Metal Hellsinger, is that correct?
Yeah, Metal Hellsinger.
Yeah,
That's a good
so
choice.
Metal Hellsinger, and we'll be talking about the interesting things, what makes rhythm shooters interesting. So stick around for that. If you missed any part of this, the VOD will be available here on Twitch, and I will be editing and uploading a cleaner, higher quality version over to YouTube, and the link to that YouTube can be found in the About section just below this stream. So if you want to see my YouTube channel and maybe see this whole video cleaned up a little bit, then please make sure to subscribe there. But until next time, that's all from me. I've been Ashley, and this has been Max.
Yeah.
So, I'll see you next time, folks. Ta-ra.